Wolfpack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 6 sit-start show. I can't believe it. We're already more than a third through the season, and here we go. Now is the crunch time. Bye weeks are piling up. Injuries are piling up. Everything is tricky right now, and so we have to make the right sit-start shows, and I hopefully will do my best to make those decisions easy for you. We're going to dive into some quick news and notes. I've been away. I apologize for anybody that typically tunes in on Thursday. Me and the family took a quick trip, our first getaway, me, Hillary, and Josie, up into the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Absolutely gorgeous foliage this time of year. We had a great 3-day getaway. Came back last night and saw that there is a ton of fantasy football news to catch up on. I'm all caught up after the 3 a.m. feeding with Josie. Came in here, been hammering away at the rankings and the news to get ready for the show today, and we are locked in. So let's dive in, as we always do first, do some Thursday night football takeaways. Hillary, being a Giants fan, she was very excited with maybe the upset of the year. I think this one's going to be tough to top. I know my stat boy over there, David Campanelli, must be excited as well. The Giants smashing, not just beating, but smashing the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Unbelievable. My biggest takeaways are just the Jackson Dart, Cam Scatabo. They are changing instantly the whole complexion and feel of this Giants franchise. Just those two players alone. Unbelievable the energy that they bring, especially the Scatabo kid. My God, going for 30 fantasy points on Thursday Night Football. That's one of those things. If you wake up after facing Cam Scatabo on Thursday, the rest of your weekend is completely ruined. Conversely, if you had Cam Scatabo in your lineup, you are strutting around with the biggest smile on your face. Unbelievable game, 98 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 2 catches for 12 yards, while Tyron Tracy had a meager 4 carries for 6 pathetic yards. He is certainly droppable. I've gotten a lot of questions about, do I have to hang on to Tyron? No, he was already droppable multiple weeks ago. He's been available in many of my leagues, and I have not even sniffed him at all because Scatabo is the guy here for moving forward. If you were drafting again today, probably a top 2 round pick, borderline first rounder at this point, Cam Scatabo, him, Quinshon Judkins. I said it was going to be the year of the rookie running back. I didn't have the right names in that sense because I liked Scatabo. I liked Judkins. Wasn't all in as I was on certain other guys, but he is looking like, when we look back on this year, who was league winners, I think Cam Scatabo is going to be in that conversation, no doubt about it. Also, Jackson Dart, again, 10 carries for back-to-back games, 13 this time, 58 yards and a score on the ground. Ultimately, fine passing, 195 yards and a score, but with those leg points, even though the final stats don't sound all that impressive, 250-ish total yards, ended up having over 23 fantasy points because of those leg points, which is absolutely massive. It's crazy to think what this team could be doing right now should Malik Neighbors have stayed healthy, because they already are looking good and dangerous with just Scatabo and Dart. Too bad that he had to get removed this year. But moving forward, if you're a Giants fan, you go from hopeless and despair to, my God, this team actually has some real juice right now. Very, very impressive night for them. Wandale did lead the way, 7 targets, 6 catches, 84, and a touchdown for them. Theo Johnson, last minute, benched him. Feeling pretty good about the bench right now. Only 2 catches, 27 yards. Benched him for Jake Tonjes. I had a student tell me Tonjes just sounds beefier. That was I was going to flip a coin. I was like, you know what, Christian, what do you think? Tonjes or Theo? And he just said, Tonjes sounds beefier. And that was my deciding factor. Sometimes, folks, that's the hard-hitting analysis you need. I liked his touchdown odds a lot this week in a Tampa Bay shootout as well. I was kind of leaning Tonjes to hear that he sounds beefier just by the name. Fully agree with the analysis, and I ended up going with him. So let's hope he scores a touchdown plus 275 to do so today. Like those odds. And then Jordan Humphrey actually led the team in targets. Little Jordan Humphrey, 8 targets, 4 catches, 55 yards. I tossed him in my FanDuel score, the first and last touchdown bet, and actually felt pretty good given the targets and the amount of field time. Right process, wrong results. Sadly, he did not end up scoring, but he did have that touchdown potential in the end zone. I was really feeling quite nice about that one. On the Eagles side, panic button, probably all year. They were 4-0, but it all felt like it was teetering on the edge and potentially hitting a collapse. I think that collapse is certainly here when you get the doors blown off you by the New York Football Giants. My good Lord. I still can't even believe that's coming out of my mouth. 12 carries, 58 yards for Saquon, 9 yards on the receptions, a ho-hum 7 points. This is not the Saquon that we had last year, folks. He's healthy. He looks good, but certainly is not getting the same amount of work, and he's not ripping off the same amount of big plays. The line isn't playing quite as good either. The biggest concern for me with him, though, is Dallas Goedert. seems to be the goal line back. I know they count as shovel passes. They're technically a reception. They keep doing that play, and it keeps working. It's like the new tush push there with Dallas Goedert. He also led the way with 11 targets, 9 catches, 110 yards, and the score. Certainly hurting the stock of A.J. Brown, of Devonta Smith. Brown did have, which is pathetic to say, a season-high 9 targets and 6 catches, 80 yards, second most of the year. Pathetic season. Continues for him. It was an okay day, but certainly not what you're expecting. 11 points is fine, but against the Giants, a lot of people think this is going to be the eruption spot. We're going to get A.J. Brown back. Not quite. 11 points for him. Devonta was even worse on a night where Jalen Hurts did have 283 yards, 1 touchdown, also added the second score on the ground. He had himself a solid fantasy day, but did not look quality in real life, fantasy-wise, outside of fantasy, rather. So ultimately, those were my takeaways. If there's a player that you think I should have talked about, please do let me know in the questions and comments. We're about 5 minutes in, and we already have nearly 500 of you here with us. Thank you so much for being here, folks. If you are on Twitter, that heart button. If you're on YouTube, that thumbs up button. That helps us get out to more people, continue to grow the show and the channel. Would be so greatly appreciated. A free way to support your boy. Now, you can financially support your boy just like Luis Perez did, as he does almost every single week. Thank you so much, Luis. You can cut the line and jump ahead to get your super chats in. He's asking, will T-Law have a big day? The whole defense, not only the DBs. Yes, DBs are banged up. The top pass rusher is going to be out. It is a great defense, but when you remove 4 or 5 of the top players, from that point now, it's starting to look like, okay, yeah, maybe T-Law does have a big day. I have been bumping him up the rankings, and I do think he needs another jump up. I have him right now at quarterback 18, just -1 the ECR. So I'm not certainly lower on the guy. I have him below Mac Jones, and part of that just feels a little skeevy. I have him below Sam Darnold. That feels a little skeevy. I think I am going to bump up Trevor Lawrence to above both of those guys and be +1 ECR on the day with these D injuries. In terms of start, I'm trying to hurting down. I apologize. I wonder if it's Hunter you're asking about, Downs or Trey Tucker. I'm guessing it's Travis Hunter, Josh Downs, or Trey Tucker is your question. I'm going with Downs. I'm actually starting Downs as a Quentin Johnson replacement myself. 8 targets last week, led the team there. In Arizona, giving up right in the middle of the pack, I think 18th most points, 2 wide receivers. So it's not a bad matchup, not a great matchup, just kind of they're going to do their thing. And this offense is such an engine right now. So I do like Josh Downs just a little bit more than Trey Tucker and Travis Hunter. I know Hunter did have some of those big plays looking good. They're going to get more incorporated in the offense. I still kind of want to believe it when I see it. Whereas Josh Downs, 72% route share, 22% target share, 30% first read share. He was a clear focal part of this offense, and I think he'll be that yet again. So just a safer floor, especially if you get any type of reception points. If this is just a standard league and you're going for just big plays or touchdowns, sure, I would go for either Tucker or Hunter, if that's the other guy you're asking about, over Downs. But if I get even half PPR, 3 or 4 points, boom, on just receptions alone for Josh Downs, makes him a nice floor. You're probably getting 8 to 10. Nothing super sexy, but ultimately a nice floor to bank on. I'm deciding, speaking of floors, between Josh Downs or Ryan Flournoy right now. A big upside stab is Ryan Flournoy this week. Given the weather there does not look great, but man, coming off a 620-yard day, Flournoy is potentially a sleeper that you need if you need to replace Quentin Johnston. I told my brother who has Quentin Johnston the same thing. Let's dive into some of that news, Wolfpack, and thank you, Lewis, for that. If anybody else would like to support your boy, it means so much, and you also get to cut the line. But we are at 600, and I should make sure to note that all of these rankings, all the content I'm talking about is at rotostreetjournal.com. The visits all support your guys as well. Thank you so much for checking those out. Always free at rotostreetjournal.com, these rankings. Let's dive into the news real quick. There is a decent amount. Like I said, I came in from the White Mountains and said, oh my God, this is more than I expected to have to figure out. But the first note was Kyler Murray questionable for week 6, and now it seems like he is trending towards Jacoby Brissett. As Rap Sheet says, the Cardinals are preparing for Brissett to start in week 6, and ultimately Schefter also says they expect Kyler Murray to be out on Sunday. For me, the impact here, I don't know that it's actually massive for the weapons around him. I've always been a Kyler hater. I'm not a fan of his game. I think he's fine in fantasy because he can dart around the field and get you some rushing points. But in terms of sustaining Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, it's just fine. And I don't think Brissett's going to be a market downgrade. So I didn't really move. I think I bumped Harrison down like a spot. McBride's always going to be in your top 3 tight ends just because he's a true number 1 receiver at the tight end position. And we saw Brissett put up some big numbers when he was with the Commanders. I certainly know as a Patriots fan, he wasn't putting up much with us. But I remember Terry McLaurin had some of his biggest days with Brissett at quarterback. He's capable of stuffing the stat sheet. He's willing to take some shots. So I don't see any real reason to downgrade Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. If you have a question on either of them, do let me know. But I consider them pretty much exactly as I would have should Murray have played. We also have Tua. He was apparently dealing with the same injury that he heard for his hip injury at Alabama. It's just like, okay, the guy's been stinking, and now he's got this hip thing bugging him. The Dolphins are just in the middle of collapsing and free falling. But as long as he can stay healthy and keep feeding Darren Waller, I'll be okay there. We have Matt Jones questionable to play. Nope, he is on the off the injury report. He is going to be starting because Brock Purdy is out. There is a chance that Brock Purdy can return for next week's game versus the Falcons. But as of today, Matt Jones will be in there. He's averaging over 320 yards per game, averaging over 2 touchdowns per game as a starter. He's right there in my top 15-ish quarterbacks. I think you can absolutely toss him in here against the Bucs, a shootout-style game. I know I said I was going to bump Trevor Lawrence over him. I like that game environment, though. We just saw Sammy Darnold throw for like 303 against the Bucs. So I think Mac Jones can certainly do the same and kind of staking his claim sneakily to maybe I should be the starting quarterback here. Love the way he's been playing. As an ex-Pats fan, I'm happy for the guy. As a Pats fan, I'm happy for the guy. I'm not an ex-Pats fan. Loving what we're doing. Oh, my God, the Bills win. Don't get me going on them. You guys have sit starts to answer. But I ultimately really am happy for Mac. He didn't really get a fair shake here in New England, and going to Kyle Shanahan, even with the weapons completely banged up, he's been really balling out. So big fan of what Mac is doing there, and happy to use him in fantasy. Moving on to the running back position with 750 of you here. Once again, that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, so great and so helpful for us. Thank you again for being here, guys. We know that at this point, Omarion Hampton is on the IR. So one of the big questions, the guys I've been getting asked a lot about, Haskins and Vidal, who is it going to be? Which one do I trust? I mean, your guess is probably as good as mine, but if I'm going to lean into one, I think Hassan Haskins, he has that Michigan rapport with Jim Harbaugh, just the big body that can eat up carries. It's not going to be sexy, but when you're facing the Dolphins, it doesn't have to be sexy. Rico Dowdle, who career journeyman, I like Dowdle, always have as a player. Still, 200-plus yards, that's a rare feat. We don't see that happen very often, and Rico Dowdle did go absolutely bananas. That's how pathetic this Miami defense is, and so I am more than okay getting either of these Chargers guys in my lineups. I do lean to Haskins first. I think the game flow favors that bigger body back. Vidal has a little bit more juice, a little bit more upside. We didn't see much of it at all when they had a pathetic backfield last year, though. Even when Dobbins was out, we barely got any real upside out of Kamani Vidal. So he's kind of had his chance. I'm happy to stash the guy. I have him on the end of benches. I wouldn't be playing Vidal today, though. He does bring more pass-catching upside, more pass-catching juice. If they do, for whatever reason, Chargers find themselves behind, it may be more of a Vidal script. I think they're going to be up, and they're going to be up big, and I could see Haskins going in for a score quite easily today, maybe 60-ish yards. Not the sexiest play. I am +5 ECR, though, on Hassan Haskins. Let me know if you have a question on him or any other guys you're considering him up against. We have Alvin Kamara. He was listed as questionable. He's expected to play against the Pats. The bigger concern is he got out-carried last week by Kendre Miller, near 50-50 split in the snap share. Kendre definitely a good stash, still out there in well over half of leagues right now. And there are the rumblings Kamara might get traded. Maybe he starts kind of, this ankle's really lingering, coach. I'm going to sit this one out. You never know, but he is going to suit up today. I still play Kamara most likely where I have him, but this near even carry and snap share split does have me a bit worried for Alvin Kamara. He's down now into like my lower 20s of running backs instead of the high end running back 20 range, running back 29 for me, which is right in the line with the ECR. I would play Hassan Haskins over Alvin Kamara today, if that gives you any type of measuring stick on those two. Chuba Hubbard out. You got to smash Rico Dowdle again. We talked about him last week, and in most cases, I did say, yep, Rico Dowdle, the Miami defense is that bad that even if Dowdle himself isn't anything special, he should have a good day. He goes out to show that maybe I am a little bit special, and he goes for 200 yards. I don't think we're going to get that again, but you do have a revenge game. The Cowboys on the other side, and they kind of flipped him the bird. They did not offer him a significant contract after he led this team in yards and carries and was their feature back. during the second half of the year, they chose to prioritize Miles Sanders over him. And so ultimately, Rico Dowdle coming in with a little extra chip on the shoulder, coming off a phenomenal effort. I could easily see another 100-plus yards and a touchdown at least for Rico Dowdle. So he's in my top 20 running backs. He's a borderline must-start player today. He's not only in my top 20 running backs, he's right on the outside of the top 12, like a low-end running back one in my eyes. Just below, it goes 11, Genty, Judkins 12, and then Rico Dowdle 13, right over Pearsall Hall, who I also love. So it tells you how much I like Rico Dowdle today. Should be in 90% of lineups, I would imagine. But let me know if you do have a Rico Dowdle question. Happy to answer it. Tough call would be Rico Dowdle versus Jacory Croskey Merritt. Bill. I have Bill just a little bit lower in the rankings, but man, is he juicy, especially when you get a matchup against the Bears, giving up the third most points to backs, a pathetic defense. We just saw Bill really take over this backfield anyways. But if you needed even more reason to like him this week, Chris Rodriguez expected to be out, who I know is just a pathetic nothing talent, but he does soak up. He's been soaking up about 30% of the snaps, 25 to 30% of the carries. And when you have that meaningful work, now going back to Bill, who's already taking over this backfield even without any help, that could be juicy on a Monday night spot. So I really like Jacory Croskey Merritt. It's going to be very hard for me to say no to Jacory Croskey Merritt in sit starts. Like I said, I would go Dowdle over him, but I do consider him a low-end running back one, high-end running back two in that type of tier for Jacory Croskey Merritt. Last couple running back notes here. Actually, the last one I've got, we mentioned Miles Sanders, who the Cowboys somehow sided with over Rico Dowdle. I know there's a little bit of money involved here or there, but we're talking like $1 million. As if I couldn't use $1 million here. Would love to win the million on DraftKings today. But seriously, when you're at that level, why not pay a little bit extra to get your boy Rico Dowdle back? Javonte is looking great, so I understand that. They paid him a little bit more, and he looks phenomenal. Regardless, to Miles Sanders we go. He's on the injured reserve. He's done for the season, and so could it be time? My boy Blue. I'm stashing him again. Fool me 7 times. Shame on me. I don't care. I can't quit him. Brokeback Mountain style, baby. I am all in on getting Blue on my bench today. You have him at 1, and I play mostly on Yahoo, and I know Yahoo allows you to churn. It is a different type of bet if you're on ESPN. I know sleepers, hit or miss, depends on what your commissioner sets it as. But in leagues where you can roster churn, there is zero reason to not drop your kicker unless you had, I'm trying to think of what kickers wouldn't be, very few, maybe 3 total kickers out there. Now that King Schrader's gone, maybe even less of those types of kickers that you really can't drop, Brandon Aubrey being one of them. Jadon Blue, though, why not stash him? Because at this point, I know last week, 4 carries, 7 yards, what a debut, smashing Wolf. But he is now the clear-cut handcuff. I think the bet has significantly changed because if something happens to Javonte, there was the risk that, okay, well, this team is clearly trusting Miles Sanders over Blue to start the year. We might just always only have Blue in this complementary role. At this point, though, if something did happen to Javonte, Blue would likely be the feature back. There was the report, Stephen Jones saying, we're excited to start really ramping up his role, see what he brings to the offense. He brings a different juice than we've had in years to this backfield. So it sounds like the Blue breakout, maybe it's never going to happen. Maybe I'm continuing to chase fool's gold here. But I'm stashing him on the bench again to see. Like I said, my basketball bags are completely packed of Jadon Blue. Wish I could flip those for Javonte Williams, of course. But I am excited to see what Jadon Blue does today. It's a very bad Panthers team. This seems like a great spot to get the rookie a little bit of burn, let him kind of get his NFL legs under him. So if you're desperate, you could even potentially look at Blue. I don't hate the 380 touchdown bet for Blue as well. But either way, I think he should be stashed because Miles Sanders is done for the year, and that really does put Jadon Blue firmly in that number 2 role. And I know it's a firm number 2. He's not going to threaten Javonte without an injury. But if something happens to Javonte today, Blue's going to end up being one of those guys that you had to pay 50 waiver wire bucks to go get. Just go get him right now. See what he does. Cut him for your kicker later if he does nothing. That's how I'm pursuing him. In terms of wide receivers, we've hit our first 1,000. Oh, we have some super chats too. I apologize, folks. I got a little going with the running back news, and I want to make sure to get to those before we then hit the wide receiver news and notes. Thank you so much, John, for your super. You're always coming in with your super chats. So greatly appreciated. So kind of you. Daniels or Stafford, 4-point pass touchdown. Ladd or Quinchon, PPR. Very, very tough choices here, John. You got the absolute GOAT matchup. You can't be any better than the Ravens for Matthew Stafford here. And Stafford himself really shredding these days. 27, 26 fantasy points in back-to-back weeks, 375 and 389 in terms of passing yards. I believe those are both season, he went back-to-back weeks of doing his career high with the Rams since that huge breakout he had when he had like 40 touchdowns 3 or 4 seasons ago with them. He's been like a very meh fantasy quarterback since then. We've seen a different Stafford these last 2 weeks. I do think I'm landing. This is a very tough one. I took a peek. I have Daniel Jones 12, Stafford at 13. I was going to say, I really think Daniel Jones runs one in today. He's been very mediocre when he does not run in for touchdowns, 29-23 in weeks 1 and 2, 16, 12, 17 the last 3 weeks, and he has not had a rushing score in any of those 3 games. So, oh man, I think gun to my head, this is one that I'm going to actually reevaluate in my own rankings, and I just feel better about Stafford today. You're really banking on a Danny Jones rushing touchdown, which I think it's like plus 205 at Vegas. Pretty solid odds. You get one. Even still, though, Stafford should just absolutely light this defense up. My one worry with Stafford is this like a classic Kyron Williams runs in 2 scores and just runs in 3 scores even potentially, and Stafford's left with like 300 passing yards, no touchdowns, 8 fantasy points. We could see one of those type of days too. But the way he's cooking, it's just a different level of offense right now than we're used to with Stafford. And he's had some miss. There's some meat on the bone too, some really close connections with Davante Adams just barely missing. So I'm going to bump Stafford up with that Baltimore matchup and the injuries that just make it still one of the spots you have to hit. I'm going to go to Stafford today over Daniel Jones. I'm going to bump both those guys over Jared Goff on the road, despite liking that game environment tonight against the Chiefs. Goff on the road is just a different beast. So I'm going to bump him down just a couple spots there and put Stafford up at quarterback 11, which will be my updated rankings, John. So we're going Stafford. Oh, in terms of the other one, Ladd or Quinshon, I got to go with Judkins. Top 12 running back for me, a running back 1. Steelers have been hit or miss on the ground. There's been a couple teams that have just absolutely bludgeoned them. A couple teams that they've really stymied. More often than not, though, I mean, you just watch Quinshon Judkins. Looks like a complete grown man in the way he runs out there. This team is clearly committed to getting him 15's light. I would say about 20 touches a week. It seems like the floor for Quinshon. I really like him today. I think he gets into the end zone. Ladd's in a great spot with no Quentin Johnson. Don't get me wrong. And a Miami team that's very, very susceptible to those over the middle of the field, dink and dunk. It's a full PPR, so it does boost up Ladd as well. But we're talking about one good game on the season so far for Ladd. Should he erupt today? Absolutely, with no Quinshon Judkins, Quentin Johnston. Jeez, you're getting me all mixed up here, John. With no Quentin Johnston today, I do think Ladd should end up being significantly elevated. I rose him 8 spots in my rankings. I still would have to go to Judkins, though. Must start, in my opinion. Ladd just doesn't have the track record yet this year. This is a great game to get that track record, to get on pace. My gut is like kind of punching at me saying, oh, come on, you like Ladd a lot today, don't you, Wolf? You do. But Judkins is the man. Like, I absolutely love Judkins. I think, yeah, sure, in a PPR, Ladd could have that 27 eruption. You had 10 catches, 120 yards in the score. You're not going to get a 27 day out of Judkins, but you're going to get 15. You might get 2 scores, and then you're at 20, and now you're feeling even better. I like Judkins. I just think the floor is better. The ceiling is similar, even though it's a little bit lower for Judkins. That's where I'm leading. Thank you, John, for the support, brother. Logan Tillman, very generous of you, $5 super chat here. Should I accept this trade? PPR, I give Davante Adams and BTJ for Nico Collins or Garrett Wilson and DeAndre Swift. Also, start Kenneth Walker or Michael Carter for today. In terms of the trade, I kind of like the trade. DeAndre Swift, clearly the lowest part of this. Nico Collins, clearly the best part of it. It depends on what your running back room is. If you're never going to use Swift, it feels like you're selling low on BTJ, where he's at his lowest moment, and I really do like Davante Adams, but I also don't know that this turns around for BTJ as long as Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback there. And so, yeah, I think with Stroud kind of finding his groove, I think Nico Collins is going to be one of those top 3 guys the rest of the season. Yeah, I probably pulled the trigger on here, even though I don't like DeAndre Swift all that much. To me, I'm always in favor of getting the better play, the best player of the deal. It's a fair trade, though. That's the other thing I'm saying here, Logan, is it's like, if I'm not clearly winning a trade, do I need to pull the trigger? So this one would come down to team need. If you need a running back too, you're in shambles with injuries, then yeah, maybe you pull the trigger. But to me, it's like, yeah, I think you're selling a little low on BTJ. but maybe not, because Trevor Lawrence is just complete cheeks when it comes to throwing to him, at least. He shouldn't call the man complete cheeks after what he did to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Respect that completely. Gun to my head, would I pull this trigger? Yeah, I would probably do this trade in most situations, but it's not a must-hammer in my mind. But yes, I think I would do this one for Nico Collins and DeAndre Swift. And in terms of Kenneth Walker or Michael Carter, you got like the feature back of Michael Carter, but now Brissett's the quarterback. How effective is this whole offense going to be? Probably not all that effective. I'll just go with the talent there of Kenneth Walker. Hope he rips off some more big gains as we've seen throughout the year. Maybe they just decide, this game, we're just going to give him the goal line carry. He pounds it in. Very, very solid touchdown score. I don't know why you have to put in Charbonnet every single time. And that could flip today. So I do like Kenneth Walker. I'd go him over Michael Carter, even before the Kyler Murray injury, but especially now that this offense should even take another step backwards, a little bit lower on Carter today. I'm bumping him down in the ranks below even Haskins at this point. Still like Carter, 27th, but we saw him in a very positive game script type of environment. This seems like one where they could get down early, and we might not see him at all today. So I'm bumping him down a few spots in terms of Michael Carter. And I do like Kenneth Walker significantly more. And DJ, thank you so much for the super chat. Great to see you, brother. Full PPR pick 3, MHJ, BTJ, Ladd, Haskins, DK, and Bill. A lot of good options here. A lot of very similarly ranked options. I would say Bill and Ladd are my clear top 2. And then it gets very, very tricky from there. I think I lean DK. It's full PPR. So, Haskins does intrigue me. I like the touchdown upside. But in full PPR, I kind of want to lean into DK, lean into a receiver at least here. DK versus BTJ, it's going to come down to those two. Martin, I had to check my rankings. I did bump down Marvin because of Brissett. So I have it literally Brian Thomas 21, DK 22, Marvin Harris 23. I've seen back-to-backs in questions where I'm like, okay, these two are right next to each other. I don't know that I've ever seen somebody ask about 3 receivers and then have them all be back-to-back-to-back like that. You couldn't ask for it to be any closer here, DJ. And so you're helping me sort them out because I had it BTJ, DK, MHJ. I had actually had MHJ at the top of that before the Kyler injury. I'm going to change that around. I'm going to go DK, then BTJ, then MHJ. But I do 100% put in Ladd. I 100% put in Bill. And then I am leaning into DK myself over BTJ. Very close, though. Very, very close. We need a Bowers fill-in. And I'm guessing Jake Tonjes isn't available. Darren Waller's on your team, so I'm going to just say Darren Waller, no-brainer. Top 10 tight end moving forward. Nothing to really think about. It's Darren Waller. I like Fan and Ertz, Pitts, all fine options. Darren Waller's a monster right now. 3 touchdowns in 2 games since returning. Looking like maybe the offensive engine. Yeah, Jalen Waddle going to probably lead this team in targets, and Waller's going to be right there next to him in Achane. Very condensed offense, and so I like that. I like Waller's red zone. We'll love him to score at plus 275 today. A phenomenal bet, in my opinion. Yeah, you're going Waller there for sure. Robert Mitchell Profit, thank you so much for your support. You constantly support. I really, really appreciate it. Good morning, sir. Debo or Worthy? Debo Monday night. I got to go with Debo. No Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels is there. Debo has just been absolutely lights out this year. I was high on him. He was one of my wolf-stamped guys in the draft guide, and he is exceeding every one of my expectations. In a full PPR league, this is kind of crazy, the stats we've been getting from him. 20 or more points in 3 out of 5 games, 17 or more in 4 out of 5. Really one done on the year, 4.9. I think he might have left early against the Raiders in that game, or maybe they were just crushing him so bad they didn't need it. That's definitely when we saw Daniels get hurt as well. So otherwise, you've got wide receiver 6, 17, wide receiver 12, and wide receiver 7 finishes on the year for Debo. I'm going to keep lighting that up, and I like Worthy. I like how involved he's been since returning from injury. Still looks as explosive as ever. But give me Debo 10 out of 10 times. I'm a huge fan of Debo and love what he's been doing in that offense. And in terms of my thoughts on Flournoy, I like him. I really do. A lot of desperation questions on wide receiver with a lot of injuries, myself included. I don't mean to say desperation is an insult. I'm desperate for wide receiver help with Quentin Johnston. We haven't even got to the wide receiver news, but you're kind of transitioning well for me, Robert Mitchell Profit, in that my most recommended fill-in today for wide receiver woes is Ryan Flournoy. We're talking a 99th percentile RAS score, elite leaping ability, great speed, not the biggest guy, but he can move with ease. And now, not just because he wears number 19, but that Dallas media, Jerry Jones, they're calling the next Miles Austin because of the way he just got his shot. And when he got his shot, he was never going to hand it over. He really just smashed 9 targets, 6 catches, over 120 yards last week. I'm a huge fan of that. And yeah, sure, when CeeDee Lamb is back, now it becomes, okay, CeeDee and Pickens and Ferguson and Florida, okay, do you really have room to feed that many mouths? Well, maybe with this defense being as bad as it is, yeah, you could probably actually sustain 4 passing game products. Either way, CeeDee's not there right now. And so ultimately, yeah, I think the third option on this passing game is worthwhile. I think the rain's a little scary today. I think that this is one of the rare games that the Cowboys might actually just control the whole time, and you got a bad run D on the other side. So this might be one of those games where it's like Javonte for 25 carries. Dak has a nice, serviceable 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, but most of those go to Fergie, and Florida just ends up with 3 catches for 30 yards. I could see that world. So I'm not saying he's a must start, but what I saw was again, 99th percentile athlete getting his first real shot at the NFL level. And if you read, because I did some deep digging into Flournoy this week, and if you read any of the quotes from Dak, from the coaching staff, they all just how hard this guy worked in the offseason at camp. And I know you get that puff about everybody. But there was the thing about Dak saying, whenever I called the wide receivers, first guy to show up every day early was Flournoy. We got extra routes in because of it. And you start to read those things, okay, I get it. I see why this breakout's happening. And Tolbert's nothing. I do think Flournoy is a fine fill-in today. I think there is actually juice even when the CD comes back. So I like Ryan Flournoy. If you're desperate for a fill-in, my only worry is the weather and the potential game flow. I want to see how bad that rain is. I haven't, that's one to watch on you got to see it with your eyes, right? I'm going to watch the pregame. That's one of the few downsides. I love going early in the morning, getting you guys, you're getting your coffee in and everything. I love it. This is my favorite time to do these streams. The downside is you don't get the NFL pregame coverage where they go around to the stadiums and you go, oh, that is really windy. That rain looks horrendous. If it's that bad, then there is a world where it's just what's the point of taking a dart throw in this type of weather? That could be the situation. So definitely, Robert, check for the weather there, see how rough it is. But ultimately, as of right now, if it's just some rain, a little bit of wind, I like Flournoy a lot as a dart throw this week. I'm +7 ECR on him this week. And again, I go deep over Worthy for sure, Robert. San Tom, 21. Crazy to sit Henry to start Kenneth Walker and Sharps. I would not start both Seahawks guys. Yeah, I think that's a little bit crazy here. I know Henry's been disappointing. I know it's probably not going to get much better as long as Cooper Rush is at quarterback, because then you're talking a negative game script. And once you have the negative game script, Henry gets worked out for Justice Hill, the more receiving profile. But I'm going to play Ken Walker, and I'm not going to play Sharps. I just think playing both those guys when you have Derrick Henry seems pretty rough. The Rams are a good defense, and I do think this offense is going to put up points and ultimately force a bad game script for the Ravens. But you're still, if you're putting Sharps in your lineup, you're kind of banking on a touchdown, right? He's like a poor man's David Montgomery is what I'd like to call him, where it's touchdown or bust for Sharps. And that's kind of what Henry has become, but it's Derrick Henry. So if I'm going to bet on somebody getting a touchdown, let me go for the big dog. I have Henry about 15, 20 spots above Zach Charbonnet in my rankings. So even if it was just like Henry versus Charbonnet and you didn't already have Walker in, I would be going Henry. The fact that you have Walker in already too, Sam, I think it's insane. I always say trust your gut. If you're feeling a 3-touchdown day for the Seahawks ground game, okay, go for it. Roll the dice. You always have to go down on your own sword. But for me, I would absolutely be playing Walker and Henry in that case. Carlos Castro, thank you so much. Good sir. We got T-Law or Mac Jones and Jennings or Ridley. I would be going Mac Jones, and I know I've gone back and forth on that one. I do want to bump up T-Law. He's going to go above Darnold in my rankings. I'm keeping Mac Jones above him, though. We got a great matchup against Tampa Bay coming up. They've been shootouts every single week with the Bucks, and so I'm going to continue to pursue that and chase that. I'm going with Mac Jones there. Jennings versus Ridley, definitely a tougher one. I've always been a huge Jennings guy. I think if it was Purdy at quarterback, we know those two have a phenomenal rapport. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if Mac Jones just keeps it rolling with Kendrick Bourne, the 11 targets, 10 catches, 140 yards. That would be, I could see them they have that carryover from New England. You have that practice squad, like second team. He's been playing with Bourne all summer, and now that's his guy. I could see that being the case. I do think Jennings walks right into that number one role, though. I have Jennings at 30, Bourne at 31. But I also have Calvin Ridley at 26, coming off that massive, massive day last week. 10 targets, 5 catches, 131 yards, looking like I'm back and a real part of this offense. So I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley either way and just kind of avoid the situation. And I'm not avoiding the 49ers receivers as a whole, but when I have Ridley, yeah, I'll see what I can get. The Raiders, I believe it's the third most big plays allowed, the yards per reception at the top of the league allowed, and that fits right into the Calvin Ridley mold right there. So I'm going to go with that. And then we got TJ Johnson, another super chat. Very generous of you, sir. Multiple super chats today. We're up to 10 super chats. You guys are incredible. Thank you so, so much today. Ken Walker III or MHJ? I'm going to go with Walker III. Again, maybe Jacoby Brissett is better for Marvin Harrison Jr. We saw it with Terry McLaurin playing better when Jacoby Brissett was inserted. I think it was Sam Howell was the other quarterback. I don't fully buy it, though. And I still am like on the kind of fence about MHJ as a player and a prospect. You see these catches that you're like, wow, that's him. That's it. That's the guy we've been waiting to see. And then you see a lot of boneheaded stuff. And I do think it's more a Kyler issue than an MHJ issue. But if he was the superstar that he was promised to be, he could get it done with anybody. You've seen Malik Neighbors get it done with anybody at quarterback. I like Kenneth Walker, too. I just think he's a great player. I love the run scheme. I hate that Charbonnet vultures his goal line touchdowns, but he's looked every bit as explosive and tackle churning, and I just like Kenneth Walker. The talent, I think this is the week maybe he rips that long one and gets into the end zone for you. So he's saying it was Jaden Daniels versus Stafford, not Daniel Jones. Let me go back. Daniels. Oh, not – okay. Sorry, John, if you're still here. My apologies. Misread that one for some reason. Because and maybe the reason, John, I misread is I think Daniels is just a tier of his own in terms of quarterbacks. And I considered more Daniel Jones and Stafford near each other. Daniels is my quarterback 2 of the week, and you get a great matchup for Chicago. I definitely am playing Jaden Daniels. I do like Stafford. I appreciate you asking me about it and making me reevaluate my Daniel Jones ranking. Apologize for making you now wait like 15 minutes to get your actual question answered, John. My apologies. And thank you, DJ, for pointing out that I had it wrong there. Jaden Daniels for sure. And I get that the matchup against Baltimore makes Stafford in the conversation, but to me, the matchup alone is the risk of a Kyren Williams 3-touchdown day, which I do think is what happens. We'll find out. I just think Jaden Daniels brings a lot more to the table, a lot more outs to the huge fantasy day. So that's where I'm leaning. Thank you, DJ, for pointing that out again. And I could go Walker over MHJ. RJ Baconi, thank you so much for the super chat. We got 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flexes. You're definitely playing Jamar Egbuka. So you got to sit one of these guys. And it's very, very tough because you have Tet against the Cowboys, the premier matchup. I believe in schedule-adjusted fantasy points, they're allowing 14 more team wide receiver points as a whole group. So that is a beautiful thing, especially when Tet is kind of the whole receiver show there. This one does come down to Tet versus Dobbins for me, because the other ones I can't bench. Rashad, okay, so never mind. You're definitely playing Jamar Egbuka Kyren. I think I then put Dobbins in at running back 2 over Rashad. I'm just such a Dobbins guy. The Jets defense is not great. You get a little fun and excitement here for your London game. I have Dobbins myself, though. I'll admit it. I got a little bit of bias there. And I'm a little bit below the ECR on Rachaad White. I'm -6 ECR on him. Good. You saw him last week as the true workhorse. 14 carries, 4 catches, and the 2 touchdowns. He's got a nose for the end zone, though. Rachaad White has always been that, but very inefficient with the work that he got last week. I think I'm going to go Tet. The matchup against the Cowboys is just so juicy. I am going to look up, though, because we got a lot of Carolina Panthers and Cowboys weather. I'm just going to look at the weather, NFL weather report for this. So 60% chance of rain, 14 to 18 winds with 32 mile per hour gusts. The gust is what really can get you for a passing game. That being said, though, that almost, when you have gusts like that, you kind of redesign your passing game to feature the big bodies, the quick hit strikes, and that's right in Tet's wheelhouse. So, yeah, I'm going to bench of these guys, RJ. The one that has to go for me would be Rachaad White. I know the expert community would have Rachaad White higher than Dobbins. Some have him higher than Rico, which blows my mind. And they might even say, Rashad over Tet. I just see that Cowboy matchup, the amount of extra points they allow to wide receivers. Tet's been very solid all year. You still haven't got that touchdown, but I mean, what better day than today? So I'm going to be benching Rashad of the options that you have here. Rashad White's hitting the bench. But keep your eyes on that pregame. See how bad it looks out there. If it's whipping all over the place, like in the pregame, then yeah, you have a good enough reason. These are all such great options. Like when you're picking hairs, you might find the one with the biggest risk. And if that weather does look like, oh man, this could like wipe out the passing game, then yeah, you have to pay attention to it. But 16 to 18 mile per hour winds isn't great, but it's not horrendous. So yeah, I'm going to stick with benching Rashad for all those other great options there. Levi C. What's going on, Levi? The greatest guy out there. Let's go, baby. PPR, pick one. Thank you so much always for your support, Levi. Pick one. Dak and May, Kittle, Waller, Dobbs, and Bourne. All righty. So for the quarterback, I'm leaning into Drake May. I know you guys know my bias for the Patriots. Huge Pats fan, but as a fantasy player as well, Drake May's been a beast. You got New Orleans. They can't stop anything on the ground or through the air. I think you got a great shot at Drake May, like 1 rushing, 2 passing, 3 touchdown total day with 280 combined yards. And I do think New Orleans can push us. I think I'm nervous as a Pats fan that not that we're going to lose necessarily, but I could see us starting out with a trap game after a huge win in Buffalo. But I weren't anything crazy. In fact, it wasn't like a good fantasy day at all. The quarterback 25 last week, but it was the way big third downs, 3rd and 11, and he just throws this rope in on the sidelines that tiptoeing on. Diggs just looking like Stephon Diggs is back. All that is just making me feel so confident that Drake May is the guy. He really does have that it factor at this point. And short with no touchdowns last week, the fantasy stats weren't overly special. But I mean, against the Saints, I don't think you have any trouble scoring touchdowns this week in the Superdome as well too. So great weather as well. So I like Drake May a lot. I'm going to be playing him over, and I have Dak as my quarterback in the Fez, my big league. I like Dak a lot today. I love what he's doing, even without Lamb. It's like, wow, this guy really is something impressive. Still, though, give me Drake May, my quarterback 6 versus Dak, my quarterback 9 there. Kittle versus Waller. Kittle's not playing, right? I think if you're asking like which one do I want the rest of the year, it's definitely Kittle. But sit start wise, Kittle, unless I missed something, I don't think they activated Kittle yesterday. I would be going nuts right now because I have Kittle in my IR just very patiently awaiting the arrival of the chosen one, the big horse, the big stallion. Cannot wait for him to come back. But rest of season wise, it's Kittle for me. But this week, only one of them is playing. So I'd go with Waller. Unless I am completely mistaken and I just missed that news. I'm just going to quickly search and make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, it looks like he's not returning quite yet. A good chance to play next week. So yeah, if you have the ability to like move Waller to get Kittle, oh yeah, like 110% Levi. But this week you only got one that's active, and it'd be Waller. Now maybe you meant to say Tonjes, like 49ers tight end versus Waller. It'd still be Waller for me though. He's kind of entered almost that like you have to play him type range. And then Dobbs versus Bourne. I'm going to go with Bourne. I love the matchup. Don't get me wrong for Dobbs. Last time we saw him, he had 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I can never get myself in on Romeo Dobbs. Whereas the Bourne thing, the 11 targets, I'm chasing that rather than chasing 3 touchdowns. Because I believe it was like 3 touchdowns on like 5 targets, 6 targets. Let me double check that on Dobbs. Not to say that he can't do it again against a very bad Cincy D, but they more so get bludgeoned by tight ends through the air. So let me just check that. I am -7 ECR on Dobbs, and I might have to bump him up a little bit. Oh, it was 8 targets, 6 catches. So that's not that bad. Wide receiver 2 the last time we saw him out there. Oh, man, that's tricky. But 28 and 25 yards the 2 weeks before that. I think I'm going with Kendrick Bourne. Him and Mac Jones really have that rapport. I know Jennings is back, and maybe he takes it over, but I'll say this, though. I'm 9 spots above the ECR on Bourne. I'm 7 spots below the ECR on Dobbs. So the experts would say Dobbs, don't think twice. I personally really like Kendrick Bourne with that rapport with Mac Jones. I like that game environment with Tampa Bay. I do think there's a real chance that Green Bay just gets up huge, and it's just, Josh Jacobs, time and time again, the best matchup for running backs. Could be a 3-touchdown Jacobs day, is what I'm getting at. So I personally go with May over Dak, Waller because he's the only tight end playing. But if it is rest of season wise, I do like Kittle more. And then I go Bourne over Dobbs against the grain there. Robert Mitchell Prophet. I just looked. Debo's questionable, play worthy. No, I don't think it's overly questionable. I know he's listed as questionable, but I believe it's just kind of a formality because he has a heel thing going on? Returns to practice, full practice on Friday, just a rest day on Thursday. And when you got Terry out, I love it. And the Bears are just a pathetic defense. So I'm sticking with Debo there. Robert Mitchell Prophet. Jackson, very, very generous super chat here. $10 super chat. 1-4. Henry, Nico, AJ Brown have destroyed my season. LOL. At least you have a good mind frame about it. I'd be depressed myself. So well done. Remaining positive here, Jackson. But you know what? You're not out of it. In those three, at any minute, the light switch could just go on and your team. I mean, if you told me preseason you had a Henry, Nico, AJ Brown team, I'd say you're a front runner. I do think Nico and Henry are better bets to turn around as long as AJ Brown's with the Eagles and that disinterested body. He's such a pain in the ass to watch right now. He pisses me off. The other two are fine, in my opinion. They're going to be good. But AJ Brown is really pissing me off. I have to bench 2 of these 6. So let's get you this one, Jackson. And thank you again so much for your very, very generous super chat here. Derrick Henry, Pearsall, DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins, Stephon Diggs, and Keenan Allen. Whew. You have to bench 2 of these guys. I think Swift is the first and easiest bench for me. I know you don't specify if it's full PPR. I assume it's either half or full. I mean, I'm not benching Judkins. I'm not benching Diggs after these last couple games. I'm not benching Breece Hall. But the matchup's not great for him. I'll tell you, I think I'm benching Henry and Swift. Swift's the first bench for me. That one's a no-brainer compared to these other options. And I don't mind Swift, but these other ones you're talking about fringe running back 1s or elite wide receiver 2s. And when you got Keenan Allen with no Quinshon, I keep with this Quinshon Judkins and questions involving Quentin Johnston, and I just keep getting I should do a tongue twister. Quinshon Judkins. Like it's possible to say those 2 names alternating 5 times fast. Do it. Try it. See how you do. It's tough. With Quentin Johnston out though, not that him and Keenan work the same area of the field, but it is. 13 targets just a couple weeks ago. It's a big mouth to feed that's now removed against a defense that can't stop anybody, but especially that short middle of area of the field. I think Keenan and Ladd both had big days, and I have a hard time sitting either one of them. So to me, Swift, no-brainer. The last one comes down to Henry versus Keenan. And with you needing good game flow for Henry to really be at peak, and you have Cooper Rush at quarterback, I just don't know that you're getting that game flow. It wouldn't shock me at all if the Ravens kind of punted one more game, go into the bye, get Lamar healthy, get healthy, and then just say, all right, we're going to try to run the table and see what happens from here. So for me, I personally bench Henry over Keenan today. If you get an early touchdown from Henry, it's like, God damn, I missed it. But I think Keenan's a great bet against the Dolphins. And like I said, I'm not benching Breece, Judkins, or Diggs the way they're playing, the matchups they have. So to me, Swift is the bench, and then Derrick Henry. Thank you so much again, Jackson. Very, very generous. And let's get that season back on track, sir. Plenty of time still left, but you have to get the wins now. It starts today. Levi C was supposed to be Kelsey. Okay, that makes a little more sense. And I'm still going to go with Waller. I know Kelsey also had a great Monday Night Football game. I got to adjust a couple things in my tight end rankings. One of them being I'm a little too high on Hunter Henry. I know he's like the number 2 scoring tight end, but it was like a 29-point blow up. Otherwise, he's been pretty mediocre. And I like Kelsey tonight against Detroit, but I got to keep going with Waller. He is just absolutely cooking right now. And we saw last year with Jonnu Smith. Mike McDaniels, he can scheme a quality tight end game. So I like going here. I'm going to go with Waller over Kelsey. Levi C. Good to see you again, brother. Hope you guys had a great birthday party, by the way. I know you mentioned it was your daughter's birthday last weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Hope that was a blast. But yeah, I'm going to go Waller over Kelsey today as well. And I like Waller. I like Kelsey too, but good options as well. All right, that wraps up our 14 super chats so far. You guys are so kind, so generous with that. And we're already at 2,000. We haven't even hit the first hour mark, and we are over 2,000 views. Awesome to see 2,000 of you live here with me. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please do hit that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter. It really does help us continue to grow and get out to more people. Because of those generous super chats, we just have to rip through a last few bits of news, the wide receivers and tight ends, and then we'll be on to all of your questions. But as always, if you want to cut that line, the super chat is the way to do it. Thank you again, guys. 14 already. So kind, so generous of you. Really, really appreciate the support. In wide receiver news, Ja'Marr Chase is going to play. He was questionable with an illness, but sounds like he is good to go right now. Joe Flacco arriving there is now the quarterback, and I just don't think it gets much worse than what Browning was doing. And Chase had 2 touchdowns with Browning last week. Flacco has looked pretty bad this year. This was the Flacco of last year that was feeding Josh Downs and feeding Michael Pittman. And then the year before, we had Amari Cooper as the wide receiver 1 for a stretch. David Njoku was the tight end 1 for a stretch. Just doesn't look like that same Flacco, but you never know. You give a guy Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, maybe he can regain some of that spark. I actually kind of like Joe Flacco's stacks today on DraftKings. Call me psycho. But he's only $4,000, and I don't think anybody's really in on him or Chase today. So I kind of like sneaking that in there. Either way, though, you're playing Ja'Marr Chase. He's plus 200 to score a touchdown as well, plus 1,600 to score 2. I like both of those odds. You're playing him. CeeDee Lamb is ruled out. We talked a little bit earlier, thanks to a super chat, about Ryan Flournoy coming off a career high in terms of snaps. That really the only time he's ever seen meaningful action in an NFL game. And what does he do? 6 catches, 120 yards, 9 targets were a team high. Getting now Miles Austin comparisons. This guy's a freak athlete. I really like this Flournoy kid. I think if you are desperate for a wide receiver play today, I'm plus 6 ECR on him. And I'm just a big fan of the game. Yeah, 114 yards on 6 catches. I think 104 of them came in the first half. I like it. I know the weather is a little bit sketchy there today. I know Carolina has been actually a pretty tough matchup, shockingly, for receivers. I think it's more because you can just run it down their throats and you don't have to throw against them. But I like Flournoy. I'd rather go if I'm punting. I have Downs myself. I had the choice between the two. I went with Downs. Trey Tucker's an intriguing punt today with no Brock Bowers as well. But Flournoy's in the conversation for sure. So, yeah, big fan of him as a punt play with CeeDee Lamb out yet again. Then we got Ricky Pearsall. He is ruled out, but Jauan Jennings is expected to play. It just becomes now, with Mac Jones at quarterback, is it a Bourne is my guy type of thing? We've seen that report. It's clearly cooking. Goes back to New England where Bourne was cooking with him. I think Jennings will be the number 1 receiver, but I have those guys ranked neck and neck, 30 and 31st. Both guys very viable, Bourne and Jennings in lineups today because that Tampa Bay shootout style matchup. Beautiful spot for wide receivers. Beautiful spot for Mac Jones. Beautiful spot for Jake Tunges, the beefy tight end. Love Tunges too. But no Pearsall, the main passing game weapon other than Christian McCaffrey. That does open up quite a bit of targets. And when you're facing the Bucs, you're probably going to need to throw. And so, yeah, I really like all the weapons here, including Jennings, including Bourne, including Tunges. And you don't need me to say CMC is a good play today. We have Deebo Samuel, as we already alluded to. He was listed as questionable, but he practiced on Friday. I don't think it's legitimately questionable, given that he got that full practice in. If you need a backup, you got 4 teams at your disposal on Monday night too. So I do think Deebo's worth waiting it out for. He's a top 10 wide receiver for me in my rankings, a wide receiver 5 on the season in terms of total fantasy points. I like Deebo Samuel a lot this week. And I don't think he's really, there's some buzz that it might be somewhat legitimate per the team. He appears to be legitimately questionable, and some familiar with the situation have labeled him a game time decision. But then ultimately he practiced in full on Friday. So I think that's a little bit of hodgepodge. I think Deebo plays. I think Deebo plays very well. And you got a great matchup too as well. And then we got Adam Schefter reporting Zay Flowers expected to play. Tough sledding when you have Cooper Rush, but he did have 5 catches, 72 yards, did Zay Flowers. Granted, it was only 5 targets, but he did okay. So ultimately, it's a lower-end wide receiver 2-bet at this point with no Lamar. Of course, that takes a big hit on you. But they're going to need to chuck it against the Rams is my guess. And I think Flowers can do some real damage against them. So I like Flowers to be another, 5-catch, 80-ish yard day for the kid. At least Cooper Rush, he's not great, but he can get him the rock. He did it with CeeDee Lamb last year. He did it last week with Zay Flowers. I think he's fine. Then we got Jeremy Fowler saying Quentin Johnston, not Quinshon Judkins. Quentin Johnston is trending towards missing week 6 against the Dolphins. He got limited practices in throughout the week, and they want to just make sure he is not at risk of re-injury. So it sounds like there is actually a chance he plays, but it sounds like it's trending the wrong way. So I took him out of my rankings. I bumped up Ladd 8 spots. I bumped up Keenan 5 spots, both now inside my top 20 wide receivers, a couple spots above the ECR as well. Both really can work the middle of the field well, and that's where the Dolphins have been especially vulnerable. So I love both those guys. Have a hard time benching either Keenan or Keenan or Ladd today. And then we got, I just want to make sure I didn't miss a super chat. Sorry, guys. Oh, that was Levi. Sorry, was the last one we received. And then Chris Godwin, week to week with the fibula. He missed those first 3 weeks, came back, seems to be a little bit of a re-injury. Doesn't sound great for him. Was playing a lot in those games that he was healthy, not doing a whole lot with the playing time. It's just more Ibuka to the moon type of news. The guy is an absolute stud. We talked about Cam Scatabo being one of those league-winning picks. Emeka Ibuka is certainly in that conversation for a league-winning pick where he was going, and he'll continue to do so today against the 49ers. Absolutely love lighting him up, and I like running in Tonjes or Kendrick Bourne or Jauan Jennings on the other side of him as well. Darnell Mooney out for this week. I know a lot of people stashing him, a pretty common waiver wire recommendation. I think you can do better. If he's not playing, you're not gaining any insight or value to him. So pick up Jadon Ballou, who's now the clear-cut number 2 running back for the Cowboys today. Pick up Ryan Flournoy. See what he does. Can he have another encore? And Jalen Coker, another intriguing stash. IR, sure. He's out again. Intrigued to see what he does. Would have actually been on the streaming radar should he have been playing against the Cowboys today. I cut him for Jadon Ballou, though, as an example of what I'm kind of doing with my bench there. And then to wrap up the tight end news, just a couple quick notes here. Brock Bowers will be out. Michael Mayer is back in. Michael Mayer is plus 220 to score a touchdown today. So when you look at like Tonjes is 275, AJ Barner's 310. Apparently Vegas likes Michael Mayer as a streaming tight end more than those guys. I personally don't. I'd rather have Tonjes. I'd rather have Bowers. But Vegas really likes Michael Mayer, so keep that in mind. And then Colston Loveland. Clearly, Ty Warren was the better pick. I did have Warren higher. I raved about both these guys, though, being like a rookie tight end that could break out. The Sam Laporta that might even be more athletic for Ben Johnson. Now questionable again. He's been a mediocre when he's out there. I was hoping for like a post-bye week rookie bump. Not sure we're going to get it this week from Colston Loveland. And then Jatavian Sanders also going to be out for the Panthers. One more week needed for his recovery. And then at the D end, or the defensive side of things, line side of things, just a couple of quick notes. Trey Hendrickson, apparently the 49ers are very intrigued by him. They're checking on the availability. Taylor Decker out for the Lions. Unfortunately, their left tackle, their star, will be out as well. So something to keep in mind there. Alrighty, Wolfpack, that wraps up all the news, all the stuff we needed to cover. We got 2,200 nearly of you here live. So pumped to see that. Thank you so much. We're not even in the first hour. We're already up to 2,200. Maybe we do break that record. Our 3,300 live views, I think, is the record. To help us do so, Wolfpack, a thumbs up or a heart button on Twitter, thumbs up on YouTube. All that stuff helps us grow. Likes, subs, all that good stuff. I believe we're 10 away from 4,700 on YouTube. Would love, if you're on Twitter and you don't mind just hitting that subscribe button, we're trying to make that climb towards 5,000. Would love to have you join us over there as well. Thank you, though, so much for being here. And, of course, these rankings, I update them as the show goes. I try not to look too much because I want to answer off my gut how I'm feeling. But then I have to go back. If I do pick something, I want to make sure my rankings reflect it. And so those will be live after the show at rotostreetjournal.com. They're live right now. You can kind of follow along and see how close I am with my rankings as I answer. And then I typically go from there. So thank you guys so much. On to the mailbag. But we have Eli with a super chat. Thank you so much. Why so high on Herb with that O-line? Very good question, Eli. And it's actually, maybe this is a little galaxy brained of me, but I think with the O-line a little banged up, he might be under pressure, which means he might scramble more. Remember, he's talked about how he wants to model his game more after Josh Allen this year, and we've seen it. The highest in terms of attempts per game, rushing attempts per game, designed runs, but also scramble yards too. All that is through the roof this year. And so if he's under just a little bit more duress, maybe he's taken off a little bit more, and we're seeing these like 20-yard chunks. He is super athletic. He has actually better testing numbers than Josh Allen, and from an athleticism standpoint, and we're seeing him actually put it to good use this year. I love plus 500 Justin Herbert to score a touchdown today on the ground. The Dolphins are giving up the most rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks in the entire league. So I think Herbert to score at plus 500 is a phenomenal bet. And either way, I think he just rips it up. Maybe I'm a little too high. It is something to evaluate because if the line is really just that big of an issue, and I know it's been a couple weeks and we've seen him play really, really well, but I think Miami's just that much of a doormat and that pathetic that this line is potentially even a good – I know it sounds like ridiculous to say like Joe Alt being out is actually a good thing for Herbert. It's not. Like, of course, I'd rather have Joe Alt in, but the silver lining to that is you might get some more scramble yards, and I think he's just going to carve them up. But I think we've seen this defense just give up huge game after huge game to running backs, to receivers, to quarterbacks, to everybody. So I'm just so high on this team blowing them up. Just and maybe Miami pushes them and you get a little bit of back and forth, but even if not, I think we're getting, 2 to 3 passing touchdowns, 1 on the ground at minimum for Justin Herbert as well today. So big fan of him, especially when you got Noah Marion Hampton too. Like, yeah, maybe it could get real ugly and we get like a 20 carry Haskins bleh day. That would suck. But the other potential narrative is, okay, we got no running game. Let's just lean on our superstar quarterback as well. So Eli, I just think between the scrambling yards, between the matchup against Miami, between the lack of a running presence that they now need to lean on Herbert even more, all those things add up to me being at my quarterback 3 this week. Very, very high on him for sure. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Back to the regular scheduled programming. Thank you again so much, guys. I'm going to take a quick swig of water. A lot to cover. Need to take a quick breath. Ooh, good stuff. The nectar of life. All righty. You worried about Dak and the wins? I don't think so, Jonathan. Again, like I said, those are the ones I do want to see with my own eyes. And that's one of the negatives of doing this show a little earlier is we don't get those pregame whip arounds where you get to kind of see actually what it looks like. The early reports are 18-ish mile per hour winds. It's not nothing, but this Dak offense is a lot of quick strikes as well. And so I'm not overly concerned right now. No. I'll definitely be tracking the weather, and there is, that's part of why I am -1 or 2 ECR on him, but I still think Dak is in a good spot. I am going to put Baker above him, though. And Baker should be above Caleb in my rankings, too. That's my quarterback 10. So slight worry, but not if I had the option to play Stafford, I think I actually would with that Baltimore matchup today. So I am bumping Dak just a little bit. He's my starting quarterback because Lamar's hurt. I have to play him too. A slight worry is what I would call it. Lucio, what's going on? Half PPR flex. Jennings, Charbonnet, or Travion? I like Jennings there. I do. We saw Kendrick Bourne step into that wide receiver 1 role, 10 catches, 140. I think Jennings is the one that ends up taking over as the wide receiver 1. We've seen it multiple times dating back to last year. So I do like Jennings there. And I just don't get Trevion. Even they're saying now they're going to up another practice squad running back because they just have to have 3 back rotations. For whatever reason, they seem very hesitant, the Pats, to put in Trevion. I know he whiffed on a couple pass blocking assignments in terms of getting holds. He didn't even whiff. Like, it wasn't like he got Drake May hurt. He just held twice in the game. And now they've just been putting him in the doghouse forever, whereas Ramondre can fumble his entire life away, and they're not going to put him in the doghouse ever. Makes no sense to me. I'd love to see Ramondre just get his ass cut. Like, thank God we won the week last week despite the fumble. Rant all said is meant to show that Trevion just, for whatever reason, is not taking over the reins like you would hope for at this point. So give me Jennings. I think there's 10 target upside, great matchup against the Bucs. I think that game should be very, very fun. So I'm going to lean with that one. We have some super chats to clean up here. Thank you guys so much. Droid. Forgot to add Mac Jones in my quarterback question. Fields, Mac, Sam D, or Jones. And thank you so much, Droid, for the super chat. I believe you're, 4-1 on the year so far? Not bad. The undefeated season, sadly, is over, but glad you're still absolutely crushing it. For this question, I would be leaning. Mac is a good addition. They're all in the same tier, which is kind of crazy. I have Daniel Jones at quarterback 12. I have Fields at quarterback 14. And then I have Mac Jones quarterback 16, Darnold 17. So I really like all of these guys. To me, Daniel Jones is the safest, the high floor. I'm leaning with him. If you were a big underdog, though, Jordan, let's say you faced Cam Scatabo. God forbid you face Scatabo and Goddard, and they're just battering you. Fields is the highest upside play, but against the Broncos, it kind of feels like one of those like Fields implosion spots. You know what I mean? Where he just craps his pants, gets 2 points. Maybe he runs one in and you're like, okay, he got there at the end. But I think Daniel Jones, I feel the best about here. I'd be leaning that way. Yeah. I think, and this Daniel Jones feels a little due for that rushing score. He had 3 in the first 2 weeks, none since then. Taylor can't get 3 rushing touchdowns every week, can he? Maybe he can, but I do like Daniel Jones to run one in, and every game he's run one in, he's at least 20 fantasy points. I think we're getting a 20-pointer out of Danny Jones this week. Is Danny Jones even part of this quarterback question? I don't know why I keep adding Daniel Jones. It says Jones is, so I assume it's Daniel Jones and Mac Jones. Jordan, let me find you here. You're right here, right? Sam D, Fields, or Jones. All righty, so let me just make sure I have this right for you. If it sounds like you do have, if you do have Daniel Jones is my pick. If you don't have Daniel Jones, I think I'm going Fields with Mac being a safer play, but I would still lean into the upside of Fields there because the Broncos defense just hasn't been quite what they were last year. So I'd rank it Daniel Jones, then Fields, then Mac Jones, then Sammy D, or then, yeah, that's how I would rank it. Yep. But yeah, if you have Daniel Jones, go him. And if not, go Fields is the summary. Sorry for the confusion, folks. Andrew Myers, thank you so much for the super chat. Full PPR, May or Stafford. I have Kyron. Especially, I would have gone May anyways, but especially when you have Kyron too. Yes, they're going to put up a ton of touchdowns. So to know that you have your fingerprints on all the touchdowns pretty much of that game, I like that. I'd rather, though, spread my bets out because I actually think what happens is Kyron scores 3 today. And maybe they're not receiving touchdowns like he had all last week. JJ Zacharyson had the stat about how I don't think Kyron had ever had more than 1 receiving touchdown in an entire season, let alone a game. And so that seemed like the anomaly. Maybe that is a new design that they constantly toss in and it boosts both those guys. I wouldn't be banking on like, oh, I get to stack up Stafford and Kyron every week though. So I'd rather, instead of monopolizing all those touchdowns, which is going to be a doozy, it's going to be a lot of them. I'd rather pivot to May. You got a New Orleans matchup. He should score 3+ touchdowns himself, Drake May, and I think one of them at least comes on the ground. So give me May over Stafford, especially with the Kyron nugget. Even without the Kyron nugget, I would have had May. But I think that makes it even that much more appealing to go to Drake May. And then we need one of BTJ, JMO, or Golden. I'm going to go with BTJ. You're talking about a lot of boom or bust guys. I think BTJ has the best week-to-week target share and still has that type of big play eruption that we haven't seen at all with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what it is between those guys, but the man is due. And we have all of those injuries with the Seattle secondary. I know I had a little bit of an adjustment with like DK versus BTJ. I think that was one of the first super chats we got. It might have been you, DJ. I think it was you if you're still listening. When I think about all those injuries that we got to Seattle, I'm starting to think this is like a BTJ breakout game today. This is the one we've all been waiting for type of game. This is what you came for. I mean, I really do think this is like a BTJ coming out party action today. I'm bumping him up. Just a gut kind of kick to the gut today. Certainly over Andrew Myers, BTJ. I put him over J-Mo and Golden. That one's a no-brainer for me. Definitely tougher when we're talking about DK, Marvin Harrison, some of those other options DJ had. I think this is it. I think this is what we've been waiting for with BTJ. Today's the coming out party. Let's find out. I'm going BTJ there. Chrono, what's going on? Blue or Spears PPR? Laughing and crying. Oh, God. Mason on bye, Hampton on IR. I'm guessing, Chrono, you missed on Haskins then, who would have been the nice, safer fill-in play here. Vidal's probably gone as well. I think, gun to my head, I got to go with Blue. You're looking at 2 secondary pieces. I like the Carolina matchup more. Tajay Spears didn't show anything last week. And then it just also has that long-term value. Like, if something happened, Jadon Blue as the feature back for the Cowboys if Javonte went down, because Sanders is now on the IR. just more handcuff value to Blue. And so I'd rather, at the end of the day, if it's like a ew type of start, give me the one that has at least more appeal long-term. If something was to happen today to Javonte. Of course, if Pollard goes down, sure, Spears has some good upside himself, but I think Blue has the higher ceiling outcome, both from a weekly perspective today and then also season-long wise. So I'm going to go with Jade on Blue for that one, Krana. Andrew with the second super chat. Very generous. Thank you, good sir. Denver or Rams D? Oh, man, two phenomenal options this week. The way the defense has worked out this week, there was like 6 or 7 that I loved, and then the rest are just kind of like, ew, no thanks. I'm going to go with the Rams against Cooper Rush there. I mean, Denver and London, though, against Fields could be an absolute field day. That's tough. That is very, very tough. I have them. I have to take a peek. I had it Rams and Broncos. I went Rams 5, Broncos 6. I'm going to go Broncos 5, Rams 6. I'm switching it up. I like Justin Fields to turn over for a touchdown at some point today. I wonder what the Denver defensive touchdowns odds are, but I'm going to bet that. I'm going to bet that one pretty good today. So I'm going to go Denver D for that one. Very close, though. Great options, Andrew. Great options. All righty, guys. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. Thank you so much. Up to 20 super chats on the day, up to 2,500 live here. Reminder, a free way to help your boy is that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, all that stuff. Helps us grow so much. And, of course, checking out rotostreetjournal.com for all of these ranking updates. I will – you know what? I got to – because it's the 9:30. The 9:30 does screw me up because I have to publish any ranking changes that might involve Denver and the Jets. And I just switched that defense. Droid, we answered the quarterback one. In terms of the flex, got to be Rico for me, baby. Keep riding Rico Dowdle. 200 yards last week. Revenge game this week. He's going to be like one of those 2 or 3 week pockets that you're just like, damn, I wish I had Rico Dowdle for those because he's putting up 20 points a week. I ended up scooping him in nearly all of my leagues last week too, so very excited about him. I'm going Rico there. Droid also has one tight end, Mason, Tonjes, or Jauan. Give me Tonjes, baby. Let's go. I'm going Tonjes for that one. I think he's a great bet to score. Him and Mac Jones just have a great rapport. And I like all you kind of highlighted. I'm out on Jauan. Now that we have Taysom Hill back, now that he's just kind of stunk anyways, I had Jauan as my guy. I dropped him for Tonjes as we await the return of our one true king, George Kittle. Mason Taylor's been very impressive, but Denver defense, tough matchup. But at minimum, though, I like him just as the clear number 2. Like he's really ascended as that number 2 option behind Garrett Wilson. And so there is some juice, no doubt about it. But I like Tonjes a lot today. We just saw A.J. Barner score 2 touchdowns against this Bucs defense. They are a pathetic pass defense. I think Tonjes is a great bet for at least 1 touchdown today. Maybe even gets in twice. Give me big Tonjes. As I said earlier on the show too, I was deciding between Tonjes and Theo Johnson. My student said, I said, Theo or Tonjes, you pick. He just said, Tonjes sounds beefy. I said, okay, that's the best analysis you could possibly ask for. Ross H, what's going on, Ross? What's good? Would you start JCM or Diggs? Oh, man, 2 of my favorites this week because you got probably no Chris Rodriguez in a great matchup versus the Bears. But then you got Diggs looking like that true number 1 alpha that he was signed to be these last 2 weeks. Absolutely phenomenal. I had a tweet about Diggs earlier this week. I believe these last 2 weeks it was like a 40% first read rate, a 39% overall target share. He's averaging he's a wide receiver 7 in terms of points per game these last 2 weeks. I think in a full PPR, Ross, I go Diggs. In a half PPR, I go JCM. I hate to play that wishy-washy, but I think Diggs, when you get the full 7 points, if he has 7 catches, that pushes him over the edge. But if it's more so we're valuing touchdowns because half are standard, then it's JCM for me. Because these are, like you said, you're going back and forth. I would be going back and forth. I wish there's a way you could get them both in your lineup. I don't know if you have a receiver you could potentially bench or a running back you could bench and get them both in. Luxury problems. Rub it in my face, Ross, where I'm like, Josh Downs or Ryan Flournoy. You're like, do I get Diggs into my lineup? Good for you. I'm jealous. Very jealous. I hope you can hear that in my voice. Kimberly Smith, start Darnold or Nix? I'd go with Bo Nix in that one. Jets defense is bad. This is not the Jets secondary that you need to be worried about. Darnold did look very good. When they're going to get pushed, he could have a high ceiling, but when they can, they're just going to want to run that thing. He just bores me. Just a little boring. Nice, safe 15-ish points, but Knicks has that 25-plus option. Half PPR, pick 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Javonte Williams, JCM or Achane, and Q Johnson, BTJ or DK. Much love from a champ. Looking at a back-to-back. Let's go, King Retros. I believe last week you might have thought I skipped your message. I promise you, I remember seeing it come up. I'm glad you're back here, King Retros, either way. I would never skip my guy. I'm glad you're still here. And thank you for the kind words here. Seriously, 2 years in a row, top of my league and most points scored. This man is good. I think you're good, sir, and I'm happy to assuage it and give you a couple hints or tips along the way. But King Retros, you're a stud if you're going back-to-back. And it looks like we have a super chat as well. So we'll get to that one in just a second. But King Retros, half PPR, pick 2. So we got Javonte, JCM, or Achane. I think I'm going to be flexing. So all 3 running backs are in your lineup because I'm not benching any of those guys. And then it sounds like Quentin Johnson isn't going to play. So you know what? You made that one very easy. You bench the guy that's not playing today, and that would be Quentin Johnston. So King Retros, you made that one easy for me. Cheers. Luis Perez. Start Charbs versus Tough D or Harvey, impossible garbage time. I'd still go Charbs there. Yeah, it's probably garbage time for Harvey. That's when he erupted 2 weeks ago. The garbage time really helped him out. And I thought he looked really good. I did. But to me, Charbs is just the goal line guy. It's and like I keep calling him, the poor man's David Montgomery. But I say that kind of lovingly because I love David Montgomery. And more often than not, you get the touchdown and you feel good about it. And Charbs is kind of proving like, yeah, I'm not great, but hey, I'm going to get you a touchdown. I'm going to get you 9 points. I'm probably going to do Charbs. It is a tough Jags defense, but you can run on the defense. I mean, Pacheco was averaging like 6 yards a pop. Kareem Hunt had 2 touchdowns against him last week as a goal line hammer. I'm liking Charbs in that one, Lewis. Thank you again for the double super chat today. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. And then we are on to Kimberly. Michael Carter or Chase Brown, especially with Kyler out, I think that offense takes a hit. I think you get very serious game flow concerns with Michael Carter. So I lean on to Chase Brown. We know Joe Flacco dump off artists throughout his career. He's like kind of like the sling it or dump it to the running back. It's going to be deep shots to Chase or dump off to Chase Brown, and that's probably all he's going to do. But much less game flow risk with Chase Brown. He's still averaging 80% of the snaps and touches. It makes you wonder if Burrow had stayed healthy, we'd be probably talking about a top 5 running back right now in fantasy. It's too bad, of course. But I like Chase Brown here. The usage has been impeccable, even with the offense crumbling around him. And I think Flacco injects a little life. It can't get much worse than Browning, right? Michael Carter, just the risk of them being down big to the Colts, and then ultimately he gets phased out. Maybe not. Maybe he is the every down back. But I think last week, the game flow very much in his favor. If I can sit Carter and kind of see what happens should they be down, I'd like to. And I think for Chase Brown, you can, Kimberly. Tien Nguyen, Kendrick Bourne, or Calvin Ridley. Very close. We've gotten that one a couple times. I am going with Calvin Ridley, a Raiders team that gives up a ton of big plays. Versus a big play receiver like Ridley, who got 10 targets last week. Looks like he's back. I'm going Ridley there. Especially if Jennings was not in, I'd go Bourne. But with Jennings back, I think he could be the true one. If Kincaid is out on Monday, should I start Ertz, who's on my bench, or pick up Mason Taylor or David Njoku? I like Ertz lets you wait because they're both on Monday night. It seems like Kincaid's probably going to play. And he's in my top 10 tight ends. I do like Taylor. I like Njoku. Njoku has that nice rapport with Dylan Gabriel, plus 500 for a touchdown. And I love David Njoku's odds today. But Ertz at least gives you that window to get to Kincaid. Because I do think Kincaid's a step above, a tier above all 3 of these guys. And Ertz is right in the same playing field as Mason Taylor and Njoku. In fact, I probably just like him more straight up, even if he didn't open up that window to get you to Kincaid on Monday. But he does. So all the benefit to Ertz, I would not play either of those tight ends. I would wait it out in Ertz to find pivot. And if you don't have to pivot, all the better. Giuseppe Crusoe. Good to see you, Giuseppe. Wolfpack, happy Sunday. PPR, pick 1. Trey Tucker, Shaheed, Kendre, Travis Hunter, or Kamani Vidal. A lot of intriguing sleepers. Shaheed is definitely the most intriguing to me. One of the best deep threats in the league. A pass defense that has improved since Christian Gonzalez got here, but I imagine Gonzalez is going to be a pain in Olave's. I'm trying not to swear on the shows because I know my daughter sometimes tunes in, even though she doesn't understand the word yet. He's going to be a pain in the butt. I think Shaheed will get shaken free, though, because of it. Our defense has been susceptible to Pat's 2 big plays. So I like Shaheed of those options, Giuseppe Crusoe. Monty already starting Gibbs. I remember that one every single week. Kendre Miller or Kamani Vidal. I'm still going with David Montgomery. He's definitely a better option. Now, if Kamar gets moved or is ruled out, Kendre might be the play at some point. But give me Monty there. Omar F., what's going on, brother? Top of the morning to you, sir. Need one between Brian Thomas or Bill Croskey, full PPR, about to crack a brew. Let's go. Omar, love it. 9 a.m. brew. I don't even know. You're in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I think you're East Coast time. Even better if not. Even better if it's earlier. I'll be cracking one once I get off the show. I can't wait. Got J.K. Dobbins on my TV about to score touchdowns, baby. Love that energy, Omar. Let's go. I would go Bill Croskey Merritt, no doubt about it, though. Got the Bills. Bill is facing the pathetic Bears, and Chris Rodriguez likely out, which, again, shouldn't be all that meaningful, but he's been playing about 30% of the snaps, 30% about the touches. If this goes from a three-headed nightmare to just a two-headed backfield, that is massive. And he didn't need Chris Rodriguez to get ruled out, did Bill. After last week, it clearly was about a 50% snap guy. The other snaps divided between McNichols and Rodriguez. But now if we get him up to like a 60, 70% snap player, super efficient, vibes all time on Bill. And now you got the best matchup he's had all year. I think we're talking about a 2-touchdown game. And I like Brian. I was just talking about it, Omar. You might have heard it. I think this is Brian Thomas's coming out party, and he has a big week. And I still think Bill Croskey could outscore him. I'm going Bill Croskey. It's safer, similar ceilings as well. So give me him. Crack that beer. Enjoy it, Omar F. And don't kill me if BTJ does better, because I think by the time Monday night rolls around, Bill Croskey will match what he does most likely. And then you have the risk of BTJ just not having his coming out party and sucking all year with Trevor Lawrence. I can avoid that risk with Bill Croskey. Let's do it. I like Bill a lot there. I like them both, but I'm going to go Bill. R Cannabis. AR. No, it's R. Like a pirate. Let's go, baby. R Cannabis. Good morning to you, sir. Jay Daniels or Darnold? I would go with Jaden Daniels, no doubt about it, R Cannabis. My number 2 quarterback for the week. Good matchup against the Bears, as good as you can ask for. I like that Monday night game. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think Jaden Daniels is a no-brainer in that one. And then we need 2 of Olave, Shakir, Harrison Jr., and Thornton. I'm guessing Thornton's Dante Thornton. I don't know that he's even, like, you need to roster him anymore. I'm going to go Harrison Jr. We talked about Kyler Murray likely being out and why that's honestly not even a bad thing for Harrison Jr. We've seen Brissett feed his number 1 receivers. He locked on Terry when he was the backup in Washington. He locked on with New England. Who was our number 1 receiver even that year? I mean, I don't even know if we had a number 1 receiver. But I remember it was Demario Douglas. Somebody had like a 30% target share with Brissett. So I think Harrison Jr. is your best option here. And then I go to Olave. I don't love it. I think, that Christian Gonzalez might be on him and make his life a little hell this weekend. But we're talking a guy that's averaging, 12 targets per game. I think he's number 3 in expected fantasy points in the league. He's number 30 right now in actual fantasy points per game. And even though I think Rattler is that type of anchor that draws you away from he's never going to hit number 3 in points per game, despite the expected fantasy points being through the roof. But his first read targets are insane. He's just getting that usage that is so tough to deny, even when the final product is 10 points. It's 10 points. It's a nice wide receiver 3. And eventually, I do think you get a little bit of closing to the line, the median, right? Your regression to the mean, whatever the smart people would say. I do think that happens for Olave because the expected points are just so sky high. The actual points aren't that bad. They're not that good either, but you're going to have the touchdowns come at some point. And maybe it's this week because even without the touchdowns, he's been okay. Whereas Shakir, it's okay, which Bill's whack-a-mole, which one's popping up this week? Thornton, I can't trust at all. It looks like Trey Tucker's the clear guy there. And now you got Jack Besh. You can cut Thornton, I would say, our Cannabis. Get yourself Jadon Blue. Get yourself Ryan Flournoy. Get something that has some more juice. You don't need Thornton on the roster anymore. So give me Harrison Jr., give me Olave, cut Thornton for something upside. I like cutting him for Jaden Blue if he's out there for you. Maybe I seem like a lost or just a completely lost soul trying to keep making this blue thing happen. But with Miles Sanders on IR, I think it really could. And then, of course, again, Daniels, a no-brainer for me over Darnold. Darnold's going to be intriguing against the Jags, but that's a good defense. And if they can run the ball all day, they're going to try to run the ball all day. It's fun to see Darnold get pushed like last week against the Bucs. That was fun. That's not the norm, though. And so give me Daniels, who every single week is a good threat for 20-plus points. NC Firearms, very generous of you. Thank you guys so much. Up to 23 super chats. You guys are the best. NC Firearms, flex, spot, start, Trey Tucker, Walker, or Dobbs, PPR. I am going to roll with Ken Walker. I know it's tough when you have Charbonnet vulturing some more. But, I mean, Walker just looks just as good as he's ever looked. The tackle breaking, the yards after contact, the explosivity, the zone scheme really coming together. I think Walker is the best play here. Trey Tucker and Dobbs do have, obviously, boom potential. 3 touchdowns last week for Dobbs, following up Trey Tucker, a 3-touchdown week the week before. But I just, to me, the steady 15 to 20 touches of Walker, yeah, the ceiling might be lower. You're not going to get 3 touchdowns most likely when you have Charbonnet vulturing, but even still, give me Ken Walker there, NC Firearms. Just the safest play of those 3. Even the full PPR, even still, I still go with Ken Walker because he gets a lot of dump offs too. So thank you so much. 23 super chats on the day. You guys are so incredibly generous. And we are over 3,000. Wolfpack, we might be setting the record today. We shall see. But 3,000 in here. Please do consider that thumbs up button, the hitting the likes, the subscribes, helping us raise. We're getting close to 5K. We don't go live enough this year. I don't think we're going to hit it. But maybe with your help, with 3,000 of here, we could get to 7,000 by the end of today if everybody hit that sub button. But even just a few hundred of you would be incredible. Even just 10 of you to get us to 4,700 would be amazing to hit that subscribe. The like button helps us keep growing and getting out to more people, as does that heart button on Twitter. Thank you again so much for over 3,000 to being here. And make sure, again, I'm going to keep going. This is not a sign off, but RotoStreetJournal.com is where all those rankings are. Nice and live there for you. I'll keep answering questions in about 15-ish minutes. I'm going to go rapid fire mode because I do want to watch my boy J.K. Dobbins gash this Jets defense, baby. All right, Tunes. Full PPR. Sit 2. Derrick Henry, Waddle, Charbonnet, Troy Franklin, or Vidal. So you have to sit 2 of them. Vidal and Franklin. I don't love Charbonnet, but I like him. Like I said, poor man's David Montgomery. Good bet to find the end zone each and every week. You're not benching Henry for Troy Franklin or Vidal. You're not benching Waddle, who's looking like the true number 1 there now. You're benching Franklin. You're benching Vidal. This one's ugly, LOL. Do I go Parker Washington? Oh, God, Giuseppe. How the hell have we gotten here? Did Parker Washington, Brashard Smith, Yoshivas, or Westbrook Akine? So Giuseppe Crusoe. I'm assuming – let me just toss a few others out here for you. I'm assuming that Ryan Flournoy is gone. If he's not, I would take him 10 out of 10 times above all of these just god-awful picks here. Brashard Smith is the most intriguing here because at least you have long-term juice if something broke his way, if Pacheco gets hurt. They're upping his workload anyways. He looks very explosive with the ball in his hands. I like Brashard Smith there. But I'd much rather have Flournoy in today. I'd rather have Tonjes, A.J. Barner, any of those tight ends. Michael Mayer. Right, with no Bowers. He's plus 220 to score. That's pretty nice odds from Vegas to say that this guy's a good touchdown threat today. I would go to any of those tight end. There's a lot of good tight end punts this week. I would go to that before any of these guys. I put Tonjes in a lot of flexes this week. When I'm in a 16-team league that's ugly like that, I went to Tonjes. If he's out there, that's a no-brainer. If not, I'm guessing Barner or Mayer out there. And if not, I'm guessing in Florida, I would take over all those guys. So, I'm going to go Brashard Smith if it has to be one of these ones, but to me, I would go with any of those punt tight ends over them as well. Davey Dave, 505, thank you so much for your generosity. Pick 1, Downs, Golden, DJ Moore, Shakir. It is a full PPR. I'm taking this one down to DJ Moore versus Golden, and I'm at the point where I kind of want to see it with Golden if I can. I have a league where I lost Quentin Johnston today, so I had to get Golden into the lineup, and I had to get Downs into the lineup. I wish I didn't have to. I like the matchup against Cincy. It seems like a good spot for a big play threat to kind of have his coming out post-week bye. But again, the Packers, when they can just bleed you out and pound the rock, they do that. And facing the Bengals, the team that gives up the most points to running backs, seems like a good spot to do that. So I think it's going to be a huge Jacobs day. I like DJ Moore. I think that game's a very fun one. Washington versus the Chicago shootout style game, Monday Night Football. I think we have a real fun game on our hands there. And DJ Moore certainly has taken a hit with Roma Dunze becoming that true number 1, but Moore still has some real juice. And against the secondary that does give up a lot of big plays, I like Moore's upside here. compared to the other options. So give me DJ Moore, Davey Dave, and that game environment, plus a little Monday Night Football hope. The last time we saw DJ Moore face the Commanders, didn't he have like 40 points on Thursday Night Football? I know that's like a meaningless stat, but hey, it's one of those things where like even if you're down 20, DJ Moore could get you 20. A big play type of receiver. I do think we see Burden's role a little bit elevated this week, so I don't feel incredible about it, but I do have more the highest of these 4 names right here, Davey Dave. Thank you so much for your support. And again, 3,100 of you here, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button for us. We would greatly appreciate it. And hit that sub button and check out the rankings at rotostreetjournal.com, everybody. Tonjes or Ertz, full PPR. Ooh, Tonjes. I don't think I have my rankings that way, and I'm going to make sure they are that way. I like the Big Jake, the Snake Tonjes, baby. And I'm going May over Dak. Weather aside, I would have gone May, but especially with the weather concerns in Carolina as well. Juan Pena with the SA, wide receiver 2 and 3, tight end, and a flex spot. Johnson's probably not going to play, so you're going Debo for sure. He might not play, but I'm going Debo. You're asking Debo versus Flournoy? Pena, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? I just said I wasn't going to swear. Sorry. But come on. I'm going Debo for the wide receiver 2 spot. He's going to play, it seems. It's trending that way. And if not, you can go like Jalen Lane. There's some pivots on Monday night. If Quentin plays, you go Quentin and Debo, and you don't worry about it. But if you have to go to one of these waiver guys, it would be Debo and Flournoy for me. And so Debo, Flournoy for the receivers. And then for the flex spot, we got you ask I don't care about your starters. Don't get those. Yes, that's great. You have Taylor and Jacobs and Adams. Awesome. Congrats. That just confuses me. Take Juan. I love you, Juan. Let's go Patriots. So I know you're a fan. I'm going to go with Debo and Quentin if he plays, Flournoy if not. And then I don't see any tight ends, so I don't know what you're asking for tight ends. You got to get Croskey Merritt in there, though. That's like a no-brainer for the flex. Definitely Croskey Merritt. I don't see anything about tight ends there, so I don't know what to tell you. Wide receiver 2, running back 1 and 2 flex spots. Dobbs, Quentin Johnston, DJ Moore. I'm just going to assume Johnston's not playing for these. If he is, he's my favorite of all the receivers. If he's not playing, I like DJ Moore. And then for the running backs, you got to go you got some good options. I can see why you're asking. It comes down to then you're playing the 3 running backs. You're playing Cook, you're playing Kyron, and you're playing Javonte. And boom, you're happy there, Juan. We did have a super chat from Giuseppe Russo. Good to see you. We got Brashard or Jadon Blue, PPR, no other options. So all those other guys, Flournoy, Barner, Michael Mayer, they're all gone. That sucks. All right, Giuseppe, between those two, I am going to go with my man Jadon Blue. I could see the Cowboys getting a big, good spot to get your rookie involved. Bad run defense. The Panthers suck. I like Jadon Blue there. I think there's just a better bet that you get 5 to 10 touches out of him, and maybe he rips one long one. I don't know, though, Giuseppe. Very tough call. But a lot of upside to both of them. And then Dylan Smith, full PPR flex. Flowers, Pollard, Vidal, or T. Thank you so much, Dylan, for the super chat. It's not going to be Vidal for me yet. I'd like to wait and see on that backfield, and I think Haskins is the preferred play anyways. Gun to my head, I kind of like Pollard against the Raiders. Yeah, Spears is back. Yeah, he was a little involved. We still saw Pollard get 70+% of the snaps and touches. He got in the end zone last week. You got a bad Raiders run D. I like Pollard. I'm intrigued to see what T does. It comes down to Flowers versus Pollard for me. But yeah, Cooper Rush, he survived last week. Flowers did 5 catches, 70 yards. I don't think we can bank on that every single week. So I'm going to go with Pollard and hope he finds the end zone again against a bad Raiders run D. Thank you so much, Dylan, for the super chat. Up to 26 super chats on the days. You guys are so incredible, so generous. I greatly appreciate it. Stafford or Love for Tunes. I'm going Love against Cincy. I know I talked about that being a big play. Did I miss one, Dave? I got NC Firearms. I did Davey Dave. I did Giuseppe. And I did Dylan. So I did all of them. Yeah. Campanelli, you're confusing me over there. But thank you for watching out for me. But yeah, I hit all those ones. Cheers. Thank you, sir. All right, back to the mailbag, folks. So we were at Juan Pena, Stafford or Love. I like Love today. I know I talked about how, they're going to get up big and pound Jacobs. But to get up big, I think Love has himself quite a day since he is just a pathetic defense. And it's that risk with Stafford, too. We get up big and when we bleed it with Kyron. They both have the same like positive narrative in that the matchup couldn't be juicier for either of these guys. They have the negative in that when they get up big, they like to bleed the clock, and both teams like to run it in the red zone too. I like Love just a little bit more. PPR 12-man for Juice Man. Derrick Henry or Walker? I feel like I'm a little too high on Henry where I have him right now. At least I'm going to have Bill over Henry for sure. I'm going to put Rachaad White over Henry. I am worried about the game flow. But that being said, I go Henry over Walker still. Superflex. Do I start Brissett, Fields, or Aaron Rodgers? I would go with Fields there, Giuseppe. I know it's a little late because the game already kicked off, but Fields has the upset. Got to say hi to my big guy. What's up, Mass Football guy? Dad bod, right? What's going on? Mac or Darnold, quarterback 1? Very good question. You got my quarterback 16 versus my quarterback 17. And my quarterback 16 is Mac Jones. We saw what Darnold did last week to the Bucs. Who does Mac Jones face? The Bucs. I love any quarterback facing the Bucs. Seems like a shootout game is brewing every time you're facing Tampa Bay. Mac Jones averaging over 320 yards, 2 touchdowns per game as the starter. You got Jauan Jennings back, so he's got even more weapons than he's used to playing with there. Oh, yeah, I like Mac Jones quite a lot this week. And again, I have them only a spot below each other, but I actually have a tier in between them. So I do like Mac Jones pretty significantly above Darnold, even though they're only one spot within each other in the rankings. Thank you so much, Mass Football Guy, for your support. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. We were at Juice Man, same league. Fannin, Jawan, Mason Taylor. I'm going with Mason Taylor. It seems like Njoku's really the guy there for Dylan Gabriel. Jawan Johnson, now that Taysom's there, no thank you. And then we got Caleb or JD. Got to be Jaden Daniels. I'm going to allow Jaden Daniels questions today. I know he's been a little underwhelming compared to where we drafted him, compared to what we expected. He still looks phenomenal, though. The fantasy stats will be there. They will come. I might start thinking about tossing out some buy low offers on Jaden Daniels. If this many people are wondering if they should be starting him, yeah, he's my quarterback too. You got to be playing Jaden Daniels, baby. Juice Man, another league, 10-team. I don't know. Henderson, maybe. Vidal, hate I'm asking as a Ravens fan. I cringe. I don't know what you're asking, who Hendertor is, or Vidal. Hendertor. I would go Henderson over Vidal, though, if that's who you're asking about. Pick one, Trey Tucker, Shaheed, or Travis Hunter. I would go with Shaheed here, Giuseppe. Juice Man, last 2 flex league. Pick one, Coleman, Judy, or Dobbs. Give me Romeo. Romeo Dobbs. Where for art, though? Romeo. Cincinnati, brutal defense. 3 touchdowns the last time we saw Dobbs play. Little fluky, but Judy's useless. And Coleman, usually useless unless he catches a touchdown. So if it's a touchdown or bust, give me Dobbs, who scores them with regularity. PP Ren, Jay Warren, Troy Franklin, Matthew Golden. Pick one for flex non-PPR. I'll go Jalen Warren there. It'll be interesting to see what happens after Gainwell really erupted. Is Warren and him now a real time split? We're going to find out. But Warren was clearly the lead back. And in a standard league, you're just looking for yards and touchdowns, no points for receptions, right? I'm going to go with Warren as the best bet to score a touchdown out of these options. DJ Johnson, happy Sunday to you. Full PPR, need a fill-in for Bowers. Fannin, Waller, Ertz, or Pitts? I like Waller the most for sure there. Back. What's up, bully season? Romeo Dobbs or Chris Olave if Quentin doesn't play? It seems like he's leaning towards not playing. I would go Olave there, just continuing to chase the volume. Number 3 in expected fantasy points per game. Eventually, it's not going to ever regress completely to that mean because his quarterback play just is so bad, unless we get Jameis Winston traded there, please. But otherwise, it's still going to regress at some point to that mean. You got to get some touchdowns finally when you're getting this many targets. I think Quentin Johnston won't play, and I'm going to go Chris Olave over Dobbs. Jordan, JMO or Bourne, full PPR help. We will help the best that we can, Jordan. But first, we need water. I'm going to go with Bourne. I just think it's steadier target volume. I think he's Mac Jones' boy. While I do think Jennings is probably the number 1 receiver there, it wouldn't shock me at all if we actually see Bourne lead this team in targets. Has that pre-established rapport all the way from New England days. 11 targets, 10 catches, 140 last week. I think Jennings is that guy, but it could certainly be Bourne. Full PPR especially, too. I'm going to go with that potential target hog and go Kendrick Bourne. Golden or Moore for stacks. I got to go DJ Moore. I'm a Golden owner. I have to play Golden this week. I don't want to do it. I'm not happy about having to do it. I hope he finally proves me right and says, okay, I actually am talented. Leading the year in unrealized air yards, yay, does nothing for my fantasy team. I think I'm very bitter too. I had a 4-touchdown parlay bet where I would have won $2K if I got a golden touchdown on Sunday night the last time they played. $2K would have been real nice for a $5 bet. Golden sold me out. So I'm a little bitter. Don't get me wrong. I'm bitter. But I go DJ Moore anyways. I like that matchup. The Commanders versus Bears Monday night potential shootout. Love that environment. That's where I'm leaning. Stacks, Carter or Stevenson? I know I bumped Carter down. I don't know if I bumped him below Stevenson, but I look at this question. I kind of want to. Stevenson just can't do any wrong, apparently. I mean, he can do a lot of wrong. He can fumble 30 times, and apparently he's not going to get benched. He's doghouse proof. And with that in mind, I'm a little too low on Stevenson in a game versus a defense that can get run all over. I'm worried about Carter getting real game flowed out today. And so we don't know what it's going to look like if they're down big, because they were up on Tennessee all game until they lost. Pathetic Cardinals. Cardinals suck. Kyler sucks. So him being out might not even be the end of the world. Maybe it's positive game flow, but I think Indy will come in there, take care of business. And I worry that if they're down big, like Carter is maybe not the third down back. Maybe he is, but I'm going to go with Stevenson on that one. I'm updating the rankings to reflect that. Chris Hook, Jauan Jennings, or Calvin Ridley, full PPR? We've gotten that exact question a few times. But when you switch it to full PPR, the target hog upside of Jauan Jennings does get a little more intriguing. I'm still going to go Calvin Ridley, though. 10 targets last week. Great matchup. A Raiders team that's given up a ton of big plays. I'm going Calvin Ridley there. William G. What's going on, Willie G? Start Olave or Michael Carter in the flex? Not a must-win, but pushing that territory. I'm going Olave is where I lean for that one. Even with Kendrick Bourne as an option, too, I still go with Olave. That volume eventually will pan out big. And even when it's not panning out, it's still like okay. Whereas Carter's probably just going to be okay. I'm very worried about the game flow for Carter, clearly. Jeff Chula, Chase Brown, Michael Carter, or Vidal? I'm going Chase Brown. I think Flacco will be a boost for this whole offense. How big of a boost? I mean, he had nowhere to go but up with Browning. I agree. I don't know if it's a massive, massive boost, but it's certainly an injection in the arm. It should be some good stuff for this offense. And he likes to check it down or sling deep. So Chase Brown, 80-ish% of the snaps, great receiving role. Would have been probably a top 3 running back had Burrow stayed healthy. I think I'm going to keep going with Chase Brown, though, and hope that Flacco really brings some much-needed juice there. So flex Carter, Olave, Bourne. I'm still sticking with Olave there. Tyler Shadle, start 1, PPR, DK, Olave, Dobbins. This is one where that game already kicked off. I would have gone Dobbins, though. And if you didn't, I would go DK over Olave. But Dobbins was my favorite of those 3. Keegan Levicki, Waller or Kelsey? I'm going Waller. I'm riding that train. He seems like last year's Jonnu, who, once he finally got that role, was a top 4 tight end. So I'm going to keep with Waller. Touchdown machine, plus 275 today. I like those odds. William G. What do you think about Trevion? Will we see the usage jump? I'm losing hope too, Will, because you had every reason to elevate this guy last week. Ramondre fumbled yet again after blowing you the game against the Steelers, and they continue to ride Ramondre in the red zone. Gibson gets hurt, and they talk about calling up a guy from the practice squad to be more of a pass protector. It seems like they're never going to ever fully turn the keys over. At some point, yeah, they will. I don't know that it's this week, though, is what I'm feeling. Wes C., what's going on? Thank you so much for the super chat. And great to see you. As you said, haven't seen the name pop up in a while, but thanks for the 2 championship games last year. Roll the dice. I'd love to see that. I'm glad you're back, Wes C., and thank you again for the support. Roll the dice on Debo or Haskin? I'm rolling the dice on Debo there 10 out of 10 times, especially on these type of Monday night slates where you have 2 games. So you have 4 teams of backup plans to potentially pluck from. But Debo did practice on Friday. Seems like everything's trending the right way. He's a top 5 receiver right now in fantasy points per game. I'm going with Debo. Yeah, Haskin could be solid. I have him plus 5 ECR. The Miami Dolphins can get steamrolled by everybody. So I do think Haskin probably gets in the end zone, probably has 60-ish yards. Good day. Debo, though, is like, we're talking, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's erupting this year. He's got 3 of 5 games with 20 or more points, only once below 17 on the season. I got to keep riding that wave. I'm rolling that dice, and I'll find a backup plan if I really needed to, but I don't think you're going to need to. So I'm going to go with Debo there, unless we get any type of reports that suggest he is trending the wrong way. Thank you so much, Wes, for your super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Good to see you again. Good, sir. All righty. We were at, you were asking about Henderson, Will, and then you asked, would you trade Olave and Henderson for 10? Yes, 110%. Wish I could pull a move off like that. Love 10. I think you're buying low before we start to see a real eruption, potentially as early as today against the Cowboys, too. Mahomes or Dak 6-point pass. I'm going with Mahomes, especially with the weather, but would have probably done it anyways. And then the Joku or Waller. We're going to keep riding Waller. I don't know why. Waller's like almost in that, like, let's not ask about him. He's just a beast type of territory. Krana asking Sutton or Waddle. Sutton, I know that game already kicked off. I would have gone Sutton, though. Egbuka or T-Mac, you got to go with Buka. He's like a top 3 receiver. He's entered that, like, we don't ask about Egbuka territory, especially with Godwin now out, too. But even before that, he's my wide receiver 4 on the week. Like, we're not asking about Egbuka anymore. Yeah, I guess if you're starting JSN, he's my wide receiver 3. So you got yourself some receivers there, Krana. But we're going Egbuka, no doubt. Waddle or Worthy, I would lean with, I think Worthy against Detroit, I like just a little bit more. I think that game shoots out tonight. I'm going Charbs over Hendo, hoping for the touchdown. And then flex 1, MHJ, Ladd, or Warren. I would go with Ladd, especially now with Quentin Johnston likely out. Good luck today, Krana. Simp, full PPR flex 2, BTJ, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, or Jauan Jennings. I would be going with Garrett Wilson, which I know I would go with the 2 Jets. So hopefully you went with the 2 Jets, Simp. And if you didn't, I like BTJ over Jennings. But I would have gone with the 2 Jets there, even against the tough Broncos defense. And then Tyler Warren or Tucker Kraft. Oh, you talk about my tight end 3 and 4. Love them both. I'm going to go with Tyler Warren, though, very slightly over Tucker Kraft. Bulldog, should I start Jauan Jennings over Hunter? Yes, 100%. I think that 11 target, 10 catch, 140 day we saw Bourne, we could just see Jennings slide right into that. Now, it might still be Bourne. Maybe that is Mac Jones's guy. There's validity to that. But we've seen Jennings be that true alpha. He's only had 1 like fully healthy game this year, and he had almost 20 fantasy points. I like Jennings a lot. Big Jennings fan. Hunter, love that he's starting to show some signs of life. But still, we're talking about like a part-time player at best. Alrighty, Wolfpack. We are about 15 minutes away. I was a little late today, so I'm going to start the timer now. So that means we're going to go like 10 extra minutes today to punish me for being late. Punish me. But I'm going to go rapid fire mode. If you want to cut the line, super chat still very much valid. Would still absolutely take it. 28 of you super chatting today. So kind and generous of you. Very, very appreciative of that. Let's go rapid fire mode, baby. Here we go. One last call for that thumbs up, by the way. 3,400. We did break the new record, baby. We've never hit. I think 3,200 was the record. We have 3,400 live with us right now. One last call for that thumbs up button on YouTube, that heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, and of course, some subscriptions. We'd love to bump these numbers up, hoping to hit that 5K by the end of the season. But even 10 more today would get us to 4,700. So if you're among those that are on Twitter watching and you don't mind jumping over, please hit that. And then, of course, these rankings will be live at rotostreetjournal.com. My rankings live and free always at the website. Would love you to check those out once the show is done. Thank you guys for all your questions, for being here this morning. Let us start the rapid fire. 15 minutes start now. We would go Jauan Jennings over Travis Hunter. Fields or Mac Jones? We're going Fields. Dylan Gabriel or Brissett? I'm going Dylan Gabriel. 3-piece, 1 failed. Kyle Toons, Mac Jones or Fields? I go Fields, but very begrudgingly. Fields, I do think Mac Jones is safer. I don't know what that other question. One sec. Sorry, I lost my place. I'm going to pause the timer. Because I don't want you guys, I clicked like the most recent comment button. Wow, there's a lot of questions today. We love to see it. So hold on. I'm finding my spot. Don't worry, guys. I paused the timer. So we'll make sure that this does not cost you guys time. Tunes, throw me off here. How do we feel about Baker this week? Down much weapons? I'm fine with Baker. Still, it's Baker. He always elevates his play. Here we go. Timer starts again. Henry, Taylor, or Njoku at tight end? I would go Henry, Todd Culver. Michael Rajin, Knicks, Caleb Williams need a defense, not much out there. I'm going to go Caleb Williams over Knicks, and then I'm going to go Dallas because of the matchup and the weather. Yep. Flash, standard score. Fields or Love, I would go with Love for sure. DJ Moore or Trey Tucker, I'm going DJ Moore, Todd Culver. Mark Schaffner, plug in Fannin for Kincaid. Nah, I'm going to go with Kincaid because you have some options. If he's a no-go, you go to Dawson Knox. And I probably feel just as good about Knox as I do Fannin. Giuseppe Russo, thoughts on Debo? I'm playing him over Trey Tucker. We'll find an option if we need to. We'll figure it out. Jared Beeson, Kincaid questionable for Monday. I got Ingram, fire him up. Nah, I would stay with Kincaid. I think he's still going to go well. We're going Daniel Caps playing Knicks over Danny Diamonds and Sutton over Jennings. I would definitely go Sutton, and I would go Knicks. I would go Daniel Jones over Knicks myself. John, it was Daniels or Stafford. I'm sorry again, John, about that. Hopefully you caught it earlier. I would definitely go Daniels over Stafford. Heard there's a few real bad weather games. Michael Hart, I'm going to catch up on that. That's one of the negatives of going early is because I like to really see it on the field. But the biggest concern I've seen, Michael, is the Cowboys versus the Panthers. Supposed to be windy and wet. We'll see how bad it is, though. Zach Ertz or Mason Taylor. I'm going Ertz there, Sabo. Andrew, pick a flex. Luke McCaffrey, lots of injuries. Gainwell, good D, but last good game. Thornton, depleted Lions, or Spears. I'm going to go with Thornton there. Go for the big play. I love how he's been balling lately. Carlos Castro, Jennings, or Ridley. I'm going Ridley there. Full PPR team. Okay. D-Money, Judkins, Bill Croskey, or Dobbins in the flex. Woo, you got some good options. I lean Judkins here, D-Money, but if you're leaning Bill, he's definitely justifiable, but I go Judkins myself. 4-point passing touchdown, Drake or Caleb. I'm going Drake May. CJ going Bourne, Ridley, Golden, Keandre. I'm guessing that's Kendre. Pick one. Receiver, one flex. I'm going to go with Ridley over Bourne, and then I'm going to go Bourne in the flex. So there you go. Start one, DK Olave Dobbins. I'm going to go with Dobbins, Tyler. Good morning. Jennings could be limited or fall back on Tonjes for San Fran today. Who gets the action? I'm going to go with Jennings, but I do love Tonjes. I have him as my starting tight end, but I'm going to go with Jennings. If I had the option, I would. Giuseppe Caruso, play Flournoy or Trey Tucker over Debo? Nope. I would stick with Debo. I'm not too worried about him. Maybe he fools us all, and you have to pivot to I don't know. We'll figure out who you have to go to from there. I think Ray McLeod, with no Mooney, maybe that's an option. Keenan Allen or Diggs? I'm going to go with Diggs, Jonathan Broussard. These last couple of weeks, absolute beast. Rico Vargas, Zay Flowers or Ramondre? I'm going to go with Zay Flowers. Thank you, buddy. You're the best. Hey, thank you so much, Carlos. Really appreciate you being here. Debo versus Bears D. I'm going to go with Debo. You know what? With the concern over Debo on Monday night, let's go with Pickens. Let's keep it easy there. The kisses for DJ for calling out my quarterback thing for John. Glad we got there. Good morning, Wolf. Everyone tap the like and sub up. Hey, everyone hit that like and sub up. For my man, Texas Hustler, Warner Pollard. I'm going to go with Pollard for that one against the Raiders today. Good matchup. Thank you so much, Texas Hustler. Ryan, standard league. Start one. Henry, Henderson, Brown. I'm going to go with Brown. I'm going to stick with Henry in that one. Let's go. Safe to start Jamar? Yeah, I would play Jamar over Sutton, but I like Sutton too, but I would go Jamar. Dylan Fink, let's have a day indeed. You got Scatta Boobs. Let's go. Bourne, Swift, or I'd go with Bourne over Swift, and then I would go I would rank them Fields, then Mac, then T-Law. That's how I rank them. Had some extra characters, help the community. You're the best. DJ, you demand. Yes, he is. Good morning. Thank you again, guys, for helping each other out. I love that. Past the mic karaoke. Good to have you back, brother. So hard week. Jefferson and Nico bye weeks. Here we go. Got Olave, Dobbs, or Bourne. I'm going to go with Olave. Again, I expected fantasy points, real fantasy points. They're going to balance out at some point. 3,500. Thank you guys so much. Love to see it. That thumbs up button would be so appreciated. Thumbs up, heart, like, share, retweet, and rankings at rotostreetjournal.com. Tim Cox, PPR, need one. Kendrick Bourne or Trey McBride? I'm going Trey McBride on that one, even with Jacoby Brissett. Chris Cheatham, good morning, Wolf. Hope you enjoyed the mountains. It was a phenomenal trip, Chris. Thank you so much. We had such a great time. Matt Kelsey, not Kittle. My fault. I figured that one out already, Levi. Thank you again for your super chat, brother. Chris Cheatham, J-Mo, Flournoy, Travis Hunter. Jags traded for a cornerback. I know. That would be nice. That's a good nugget. Thank you for including that. Third worst versus the slot. You got some good stats here. I'm going to still lean J-Mo for a blow-up tonight against the Chiefs, though. Samuel Castillo. One receiver, Myers or DJ Moore. Give me Myers with no Bowers. And then flex Pollard, Waller, or go nuts with Taysom Hill a little too nuts. Not quite yet, but maybe eventually. I stick with Waller there, the touchdown beast he is. Pablo Garcia. Should I start Herbert or Daniel Jones? I'm going Herbert all day for that one. Love the Miami matchup. Wolf, Caleb versus Knicks, 6-point touchdowns. I'm going Caleb in that one, Fatty Mateo. DK going to draw Denzel Ward, Shadow, BTA with Chicago's without. So, yeah, I get it. Pulling hairs? Yeah, I think this is the BTJ coming out party. I think we switched that answer, DJ. Hopefully you heard that one at some point. Artisanal Pacheco. Full PPR, Tyrion Premium, Henderson, Franklin, Fannin, or the Glock on my dresser. The Glock sounds pretty tempting in those options there. I would go with Trevion and hope that finally they evaluate the role and bump him up. And if he doesn't come out, the Glock is always there waiting for you. Krana shot, Dobbs or Bourne? I would go with Bourne on that one. Krana. Fatty Mateo, need a running back and a flex. Brees, Kamara, Keenan, Ladd. I'd be going Ladd and Brees for these ones. There. Pass the mic. The Wolfpack is back. Amazing knowledge and fantasy. Amazing content, fantasy knowledge. Thanks for the help. If you see this, pass the mic. Of course I see it, and I love you. Thanks for the kind words. Got Henry, Judkins, Genty, and Rico. Sit one. I would be sitting Derrick Henry out of those. And then Golden, Bourne, or Dobbs. I would be going with Bourne. Thank you so much. Pass the mic. Full PPR, Waller or Mason. I'm going Waller there, Fatty Mateo. How now, Brown Cow? Unique New York. Okay. Tongue twisters, is that what we're playing now? We got Ryan Lee. Do you think I should start Ladd instead of Sutton with the QJ injury? I would have gone Sutton, but if you didn't, I think Ladd's in a great spot today. I'm very susceptible over the middle of the field. Jonathan Santiago, Michael Carter, or Chamiri Dyke. League is broken with return yards. I don't know anything about return yards, so if he's solid, you know better than me, Jonathan. I would go with him if you know better. I would more normally say Michael Carter, but you seem to know better than me. Pitts or Mason Taylor? I'm going to go with Pitts there. Jared Goff or Stafford for bully season? I'm going Stafford. I had updated that this morning. Even if you have Kyron, the weather, I don't know. I'm sticking with Stafford. That defense is so abysmal. Rattler or Penix for AJ Lee? I'm going to go with Penix for that one. Steve Weber, good morning to you too, sir. Matthew CK, how concerning are the injuries? I think it is concerning, but I think Miami blows, and if it gets him scrambling more, Justin Herbert, I think we're going to actually maybe get some more fantasy juice out of the scrambles. AJ Lee, 12-team full PPR. Good to know. Jose Rodriguez, Bourne, Brees, Golden, pick one. I am going to go with Brees Hall for sure there, Jose. Tet McMillan, London, Golden, Bourne, Shaheed, pick two. You have to go London. You have to go Tet McMillan. The others are a couple tiers below those two. Definitely for me, Jose. Herbert or May? I'm going to go Herbert, but it is close for sure. AJ Lee, 12-team, full PPR, tight end premium, flex two. Charbonnet, Shaheed, Kincaid. Sleeper has me as a 70% favorite. I like Kincaid the most, especially in tight end premium, but he is risky being questionable. So if you didn't want to go him, Shaheed would be my favorite of the other two. Vidal or Haskins. I'm going to go Haskins between those two. Gozer the Gozerian. Do you believe in Scatabo? I absolutely believe. Now, granted, this would be I don't think he's going to put 30 every week. So, yeah, if you could sell real high, go for it. But I believe, and I think if we were redrafting today, he'd be a fringe first rounder. I really do. I think he's an absolute beast. Ryan Tuttle, start one. Myers, Kraft, or Sutton? I would have gone Sutton, and if you didn't, I'll go with Kraft. Goff or Stafford? I would go with Stafford. I know your context. You have Gibbs, which you can kind of attach to. I'm going with Stafford. We know Goff sucks on the road, too. All righty. Bully season, you answer your question. There's Campanelli coming in there hard. I like it. there's my bouncer. 5-minute mark, guys. One last call out for that thumbs up with 3,500 of you here. That thumbs up, the like, the share, the retweet, all that good stuff really helps us out so much. And rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find these rankings. Last 5 minutes. Here we go. Matthew CK. Bad weather has little effect. Great answer concerning the Chargers. I agree. There we go. Guy I'm going against says Puka. Oh, good Lord. Good luck. Prayers up for you. Dylan Lester, K. Doughton or Mason Taylor. I'm going Mason Taylor there. Giuseppe Caruso, Tez Johnson, Parker Washington, Jadon Blue, or Yoshabats. I like Jadon Blue out of those options. Maybe Tez, though. I actually don't even hate it, but I'm going to go Jadon, I think. Mason Taylor or K. Doughton. I'd go with Mason Taylor, Dylan Lester. Fields, it's Stafford. Fields or Stafford. I would go with Stafford there. 6 point, especially even better for him. My bench is wide receiver Pittman, Dobbs, J-Mo, Taekwon, running backs are CMC, Rashid White, Montgomery, Kendre, Vidal. Who to start? 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. You got to limit that question, Rob 90. That's like 8 different things. But, I'm going Pittman for sure. I'm going Dobbs at wide receiver, benching the other 3. You're definitely playing all 3 running backs as well. So there you go. Boom. Jose, good morning. And you're benching Kendre there. You're playing CMC, Rashid White, Montgomery. Jose, I have DK, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown starting. AJ played, but DK and Allen, should I start them or sit for? No, you're starting those guys that you have, and I go Tonjes over Njoku, Jose. Croskey Merritt or Montgomery, Motor City. We're going Croskey Merritt, baby. Great matchup. Fields or Knicks, I'm going Knicks. May or Caleb, I'm going May, John. Morning all. What's up, Brian? Pick one. D. Henry, Trevion, or Chase Brown. I'm going Henry there. Fields or Stafford. DD, I'm going Stafford. Start 2, Marv, BTJ, Olave, Keenan Allen. I'm going Keenan. I'm going BTJ, Garrett. Diggs, a TD and 3 for 3 versus New Orleans. There you go. Good stat there. Like that. Plus 170 to score today. So I like that one. Good morning, our cannabis. 2 flex PPR. Kamara, Kendre, Shepard, T. Spears, or Io Manor. And Pearsall and Godwin. I'd go Kamara, and I would go. I don't want to start 2 Saints backs. I'm going to go Kamara and Io Manor there. Ertz, Tonjes, or Mason. I'm going to go Tonjes over Ertz. I want to make sure my rankings reflect that because I've said that a few times. TC, thank you so much for reposting the stream. I appreciate that they let us know who reposts it. I did bump Tonjes over Ertz. Good to see. Full PPR torn between Pollard, Jennings, and Shaheed. I would be going with Jennings there, such a Kevin. Should I pick Young, Rodgers, Tua, or Mac Jones? I would go with Mac Jones there, ice cold OG Jones. Taekwon. None of the people you suggested are available. Big league, remember. It is indeed a big league. I like Taekwon, though. Like, share, and subscribe, people best in the biz. Thank you so much, Giuseppe. We all pray for you, as Ryan says. Judkins, Jennings, or London in the flex. Oh, baby. This one comes down to London or Judkins. I'm going to go with Judkins, Angel. Gerard, PPR. T, Charbonnet, Bourne. I'm going to go with T and hope for the big play with Flacco. Flex play, PPR, Njoku or Jamo. I like Njoku. Oh, interesting. Thanks, buddy. Let's go, Mass Football. We buy homes near you, 512. Would you play Ridley, Bourne, or Jennings over T. Higgins? Yes, I'd play Ridley. And I like the Packers D too. Was offered to trade Mahomes and Kendra Miller for Lamar and Daniel Jones. I love it. Yes. Garrett, Kelsey, or Waller for tight end. I go Waller. And then Henry, Walker, or Bourne. I'm going to go Henry. Connor McSpadden, full PPR. We go, this is a tough one. Bill Dowdle and Jake Ferguson. I got to bench Jake the Snake Ferguson, but I absolutely love him. But Bill and Dowdle, I just like even more. Henry, I like, oh yeah, so someone's asking. Answer my first question now. I got Kelsey, Ken Walker, Henry, or Bourne. I go with Henry. Trade Achane for Javonte and Brian Thomas. Have a lot of injuries, need a depth. Yeah, I would pull that move. I think that's a very fair trade. Briar Boggs, need a flex bad. Kamara, Cup, or Kendrick Bourne. I would go, I do like Bourne there, yeah. Flex 2, PPR. Chase Brown, Michael Carter, Kendrick Bourne, and Jennings. I would go Jennings and Brown there. Sphincter Muffins, nice name. Me gusta, Brian T or JCM. I'm going JCM, baby, all day. Kelsey or Henry for Ross H. I'm going Henry. GTA Hrug, Kraft or Laporta. I'm going Kraft, no doubt about it. Cincy, a beautiful matchup there. Megan Sorrells, Williams, or Herbert. I'm going to go with Herbert. Love the rushing upside today. Start two non-PPR, Carter, Walker, Haskins. I'm going to go with Walker and Haskins and bench Carter there. Pitts or Njoku. I'm going with Pitts. Full PPR, Mark Andrews or Kincaid. Kincaid for sure. And I would go Chase Brown over Haskins with that full PPR. Michael Carter or K9. I'm going K9, Brad Bodie. FA, Flex 1 PPR, BTJ, K9, Olave, Swift. I would be going with BTJ, the full PPR. Hope we get that coming out party. And last question, Mobbin, right at the buzzer too. Look at that timing. Got through the whole mailbag. PPR, start 3. Rashad White, Jalen Warren, Kyron Williams, Judkins. I'm benching Warren for sure. Love all 3 backs far more than him. Wolfpack record 3,563 as we close out the show here. Thank you so much for being here. One last call for the thumbs up button. Like, shares, retweets, all that good stuff help us grow. And please check out rotostreetjournal.com where these rankings will be live, updated from everything we talked about today. You guys are the best. Get that week 6 win, baby. We'll be back live Thursday for your pregame show on Thursday Night Football. But until then, Wolfpack, in a world full of fancy sheep, be the wolf and check out rotostreetjournal.com. Later, guys.